Welcome, welcome, welcome.
What up, my brother?
Right, long time no see.
How is you?
Well, still live and kicking.
All right. Well, I'm still alive, not kicking, but still alive. Welcome to the show. You know what? I was thinking of a couple of possible topics for tonight, but doesn't matter. Maybe we'll come across it. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll open the show with it. Maybe we won't. I was thinking of stuff that impressed us back then, but no longer as impressive now. Now, shout out to Patrick. For example, like those voiceovers on radio. Those we looked up to those guys. I mean, before we became what we became, we were part of the audience, and you'd hear the voices like guys, hello, kirante dos, and all that stuff. We were like, whoa, how the heck, you know, and your youngest brother is blowing those people away. I mean, I kid you not. Whenever I hear DJ Miko on air, I'm like, dang, that guy, he's I mean, she can blow those guys away. I can't do that stuff. But back in the day when we were younger, when we were not part of the broadcasting field, I mean, I think it applies to everybody who ends up working in radio. We all start out as like fanboys, and then when you find out, your ears start to adjust, and I think it's the same maybe with in other fields as well, like maybe in sports. Like you think, oh, this guy's
But radio
you know
changed over the years. So
that's
when we
true.
were
That's
growing
true.
up, it was kind of different. And you look at television, back in the day, the local news was really old school. I remember Roman B. Paking. Do you know that guy?
You
You
know
remember that
what?
guy?
I would
Roman B.
read
Paking.
I would read that guy's name on News at 7, I think, with like Chris
Right. News
Paula,
at 7. Yes,
but I
Chris
don't
Paula.
know the guy. Like I've never seen the guy. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think he drove a Volvo or something like
Right.
and his Volvo had like a mini
All
transmitter
right.
looking
I
thing
think it
at the
was
back.
both of them
Was
did
that
that.
him? Right?
No, I mean, I probably because
Cause,
Chris Paula
'cause-
did news at 7 too. But at
yes.
some point, Roman B. Paking also did that, or was
No,
it Chris
I
Paula the
don't
whole
remember
time?
the guy. I just see his name. Like I just he's like he's given credit as a producer, but I don't think he actually really did the news. Like I don't think he was
This is
actually on TV.
for news at 7. This is Chris Paula. Like the way he says it.
So it's just his voice. So it was just his
Uh,
voice. No. You
no,
mean
I
like
mean Chris
the?
Paula did it, but I think Roman B. Paking too. Like I think I saw him on TV. I think he was that guy on television. I think he was.
How
one
does he
of
look like?
definitely not like Chris Paula. Chris Paula had the mustache, right? He had
Yes,
the mustache
yes,
going,
yeah,
and even when he was young, he looked already old.
yeah.
Maybe that's what I mean. What's that movie with what's his name?
I know. Will
Comedian
Ferrell. Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, right?
Anchorman. Anchorman.
Chris Paula, God bless his soul. May he rest in peace. Well, he died a long time ago, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely looks like Will Ferrell
I know.
in
Mustache.
his
He
movie.
was.
What's
He
that
was always.
movie?
He was
Like
always Anchorman. Anchorman. He was.
Anchorman, right?
He was always
Yeah.
kind of like this,
Oh,
right?
the
Like
Anchorman. The
welcome
Anchorman.
to News at 7. This is Chris Paula.
Paula.
In the news, local story. Two members of the Macaca Boys were captured shoplifting at the local convenience store. He had this, right? And dude, it blew me away. I was like, holy dang, like this was the only news. And we're not like knocking out the guy, much respect. In fact, I think his niece was one of my classmates back in the day in Capitan Tomas. And I'm not sure if she sees this, if she'll confirm. But I think Chris Paula was her uncle, and Chris Paula was the only news guy at the time, right? Local news. Was he the only one?
Um, no, not only him. I think there were other people too.
Tectina Monson Palma was in Manila. I mean,
Right.
Eddie Ilarde, wherever else was doing news at the time, I don't know, but I know everyone else was based in NCR, and the only Davao-based ones, well, the only Davao-based one that I was real familiar with, really famous, was Chris Paula. And I mean, okay, let's read Patrick's while I don't know if you're doing the background check on newscasters in Davao back in the day. Everything is analog back then. Now it's digital. It's much easier to do things now. You just need a computer and then the appropriate software. That's it. Yeah, I mean, okay. Speaking of technology, I mean, just to deviate from what we started with earlier with news anchors and announcers and those voices that intimidated and impressed us back in the day. Like those Nokia like communicator phones or the Sony Ericsson P900, P800. I'm sure you guys remember those, right? Or the Palm One tungsten thing, which med reps had back in the day, where you could like write stuff, like you could like jot notes and stuff, and it came with a little stylus. Those were very, very impressive back in the day, and now you're like, what the heck, It's like the memory that it had probably couldn't even carry like 10 songs. I mean, just
True, true.
you
Even
know.
with cell phones, I just saw a meme the other day. It was about a 3310, or just like one of those old Nokia
Let me do a
phones.
show.
If you have too much messages, there would actually be a notification that would say no space
Yes.
or new messages, right? And
Yes,
I don't know, like
yes. You're
how many
right.
messages can we have
You're
in,
right.
in, in
You're
the phone? Was
right.
it 30? Was
I'm
30
not
messages the
sure, but
max?
it would show you that there's incoming message, but it can't display
You
it
can't,
because
yeah,
you have
you
to
cannot
delete some
receive it
messages.
because there's no
It
space for that.
usually happens during the holiday season, right?
Right,
Right?
right.
Like all the New Year and Christmas messages would come in,
Yes,
and you're like, oh
Christmas, New
shoot, you
Year
got to start
messages,
deleting, and
Holy
and you can
Week and shit.
and you can archive some or you can save some, right? You can like right, you can
Yeah, and
actually
that
do
would take
that.
up. That would
Yeah, it
take
would
up some
take
of the
that's
memory
true. That's
too.
true.
So if you have a lot of
So
archived messages, the lesser you get, or the lesser you have in your inbox.
yes. Yeah, so we're like, so there were a lot of things back then that really impressed us. That now, I mean, just video games alone, family computer. I'm pretty sure back in the day, the radio people would load the songs manually in their vinyl or CD. But this was Iceman's time. Now they,
This was Ripper's time.
yeah, you're right. You're right. This
Ripper's
was
time.
Ripper. This was definitely Ripper's time. Not my time. Yeah, CD player for me. And then
And the fun of this time was they actually played the music in the radio station. They
yes.
actually played inside. They actually played
Oh,
it inside.
live. Holy
No, I don't know.
crap.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Just kidding. I don't know. Maybe. I don't
Dude,
know.
I would be surprised if they actually had live musicians playing there. Like it depends on the musician if they can play the music, like the request. But yeah, that's how it was back then. But they were impressed. I mean, it was impressive. I don't know how they pulled it off because, like, if you listen to radio back in the day, considering they have to put a record, they have to make sure the track was spot on. I mean, I think people just adapt. Like if let's say it's a difficult situation and you have to up your game to make something, perform properly or have a successful show, then humans we up our game, we adapt, but if it's something very easy, we also become lax, we kind of lose a little bit of our mojo, and I think that's it, like back in the day, people were just like, they knew what they were doing, and they were pretty hardcore with making sure that the show was perfect. Because didn't you imagine somebody, even if they didn't request it, even if it was staged, like they would just say that, oh, somebody requested for this song, but it was actually all lined up and they all had everything prepared. If you ever played a vinyl record, and we had a record player in the old house, so I know how it works, you have to make sure that that needle thing goes spot on. Same with those party DJs when they were doing it back then, and you think they're like mixing it. They were now it's like the Serato stuff that they use for the mixing DJ thing. Those are not real vinyl records. Those just kind of like it makes it look like the vinyl records, but they can do the thing. But everything's digital. Everything's like downloaded into the mixer. So and everything is already like pre-mixed. Like if it's a
Right.
certain
So
what's
now
that term?
everything's AI.
What's
What?
BPM? It's a BPM, beats per minute. Like that's the kind of thing that you have to keep in mind when you're like a party
I
DJ. Is
think
that
so. That's yeah. I,
the
I, I see
songs don't
BPM a lot, so it must be
can't
beats per minute.
yeah, they can't deviate far from one another. Like if you're gonna play a 92 BPM song, you can't play a 123 BPM song after it because it's not gonna blend in. It's gonna be caballo. It's gonna be like
Yeah, kabayo. That's their
and then
term,
it's
kabayo.
so it has to be like
It has to have a
and
good segue. It has to like blend
yes,
in. It
that's the
has to
word.
right on. It
Segue.
would seem like it's just the same
You're
music playing,
right,
right?
right. Segue is
It's
the
like a
word.
medley.
Yeah, that's the word. Segue medley. I mean, that's the word. Oh, those are the words. And back in the day, people had to worry about that stuff. Now it's like everything's automated. So nothing's impressive anymore, which is kind of funny because we're talking about stuff that impressed us back in the day. Maybe there were more stuff that impressed us back in the day because nothing impresses us anymore today. Like for
Now,
example,
back in the day, people get impressed with horses, and then cars came along. Sound like, yeah, you got a horse, I got a car. Man. I
yeah,
mean,
but the car is powered by horsepower. You know what I'm saying? And here's another thing.
it's still there, but it's not the actual horse.
Back in the
There's
day,
still a horse involved, but it's not the actual horse.
like back in the day, how impressed were we with movies that had special effects? Now it's like since we know it's CGI, or even if it's not CGI, we will assume, oh, that's just CGI. Since CGI can pretty much imitate anything in real life already, and you can't even tell if it's CGI, if it's computer graphic,
Makes
right?
movies more
It's
interesting, I guess, and watchable.
yeah. But back in the day, we were like blown away. If it's like if we saw Rambo and like he shot an arrow at this like Viet Cong commander, and the guy blew up, and only shoes boots were left. We were like, whoa. That had a different shock factor seeing that guy get blown up and it's actually a mannequin and they just like blew him up with like effects but you actually saw it and it felt more kind of real because we haven't seen anything close to that. Like I've never seen a person blown up in real life, so if you see something like that happen, it was like it had a shock factor. Like Rambo was like it made it more violent and more raw. Now if you like see a whole freaking city blow up, it's like it's computer graphics. No, nobody got harmed. Now it's back in the day. It's like they actually really had stuntmen. I mean, we remember that talk about Dante Varona. Like the only reason why we know Dante Varona in this day and age is because he supposedly jumped from the San Juanico Bridge, right? And like nobody has done that. And like, what's the big deal with jumping off the San Juanico Bridge? Well, I have been to the San Juanico Bridge. Apparently, it's a really, really tall bridge, or the tallest bridge in the Philippines. And he jumped, and it became like a talk of the town. It became like a kind of like an urban legend. Like, oh, Dante Varona, the guy who jumped. Now it's like you see Tom Cruise jump off a building and hits his rib on the thing for Mission Impossible, and you see clips of it, and we don't even care. Like you see Jackie Chan, with his stunts and stuff that blew us away back then. But now it's like just because Tom Cruise, like that's a big deal already because action stars are not meant to be hurt anymore because they don't really do stunts. In fact, stuntmen are probably out of jobs because of the special effects that they do. I mean, if you watch that the reason why Top Gun Maverick became a hit was because they really tried to make it like less CG effects as they could, and kind of make it still close to the not source material but the original material. It being a sequel, because people would probably be turned off if we watched Top Gun and all the jets were computer graphics and everything was done, right? But they
I
still
think it's
kind of
much harder for the actors than for us audience because we're just watching the finished product, right? So if they're
true.
shooting in green screen and whatnot, I mean, if you're an old school actor like Tom Cruise is, I think that's why he likes it more if it's actual, like flying and there are actual people in airplanes involved than just
That's
CGI.
true.
Because I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah,
kind of weird. If you're like acting or doing something, and it's just like green, like everything's green in your background. So it's kind of it's crazy, right? I mean,
yes,
you're like, oh, you're supposed to be picturing yourself in a place where there's a lot of people and there's so many cars and there are buildings blowing up. It's just so hard to like imagine that, and you're pretending that it's happening, but all you see are green screens, right?
that's true. I
Like,
agree.
oh, yeah, the audience are shouting. There's like, people like cheering for me. There's actually nobody there. It's just like crazy. I don't. I mean, I think that's hard for a person to. I mean, if you're an actor, I know that's your job. But if I'm
But the
thinking if
new
I'm the actor,
generation of
maybe
actors now are probably they're used to like you have to think like for example the Avengers movies, right? The Marvel movies. Most of those are done with the studio and a green screen, and pretty much almost all of it is done in a studio. But you have guys like Robert Downey Jr. who's old school and who's been acting since God knows when, since the 80s. I'm pretty sure he's probably kind of feeling it weird hanging on a wire as compared to someone like who's the new Spider-Man?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, yeah, like Tom Holland. Like Tom Holland probably is like that was normal to him since he started the superhero gig. He's been hanging on a wire. So I think for us, I mean, dude, we were impressed with Christopher Reeve. We were just talking about it. Christopher Reeve as Superman going like this, and his hair not even like, dude, we fell for that shit. I mean, you watch the old Filipino comedies with Rene Riquestas like flying and shit, or like Joey De Leon as Shira, whoever the heck he was, Batman and Robin. I mean, like literally, the effects were like drawn on the screen, like the. They always have that same sound effect in the shake, rattle, and roll in horror movies back in the day. So I was like, like I bet people watched it. Like I didn't hear people laugh at it or mock it or think that it's unrealistic. We just accepted it. But now it's like we take these effects for granted. They don't even, dude. We don't even have to go to a theater to watch effects like that. You can watch an original Netflix movie, which is just like by Netflix, released on Netflix for home viewing, and the effects equal that of like a full-on theatrical release. I mean, that's how. I mean, that's just how the game has upped, and I think nowadays we're just really not impressed with much. I mean, can you imagine us doing this show 20 years ago, 10 years ago, like this? Like without the. I mean, back then, if CNN had a field reporter joining them from Baghdad or something, there would still be a bit of a delay. Like the reporter would be like, okay, now we have, what's her name, reporting from Baghdad. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, I mean, I'm here in Baghdad and I can hear the bombing in the background. Like, there's that delay. We don't even have that delay, dude. You're in Japan. This is like well, it's not a free software, but still, it's pretty darn good. Considering. Patrick has
No,
an
there
LSS.
was a delay.
I know. Like that was our delay. That was us buffering. Like, what the heck was that? That was like you were trying to figure out what I was saying.
No, I was trying to be funny, and you're not even funny anymore. I don't know.
And then you laugh.
The
You
two
go,
people were watching. It's like, got
You
it.
go,
Like, oh, what's he doing? Like, I was pretending that like there was a delay. That was my delay face. Like,
and the two people watching us is Patrick and Angelo, right? I have LSS with Sharon Cuneta's Mr. DJ song. How people request for their song on the radio.
Mr.
Dang.
DJ.
When did you hear that song, Patrick? I want to know though, because I don't think you were born when
Yeah,
that
you're
song
pretty
came
young.
out, right?
Pretty young. I mean, that wasn't even my time.
No, that wasn't my time too. Like Sharon's like my sister's age. But there's a Sharon song that's just as catchy, the High School Life one. I don't know which one came first, but High School Life in a High School Life. But I think they used that in a new song, right? Didn't they use that in a new song? Na 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 na. Didn't they use that in a new song? And then Salbakuta comes in. Yo, yo, yo. High School Life. Ganyan talaga.
Who's that guy who raps who raps fast? What's his name?
Glock 9?
Glock 9. Glock 9.
Glock 9? V-Fresh! Bumili na kayo ng V-Fresh. Malamig sa bibig. Every Sunday they play those old songs and say, okay, all right. So you're I mean, come on, dude. You're the vocalist
You
of...
mean release me and let me love again.
Through the years, you never let me down.
Now I don't have to wait for Sunday to listen to those songs. I can just go on YouTube and boom, instantly I can listen to, Kenny Rogers just like that.
Iceman
in the day,
listens
you
to
have to
those
wait
songs
for
by
Sunday.
choice, not by consequence. Like he
No,
chooses to listen,
There are
right?
times that I crave for those songs. Kenny Rogers, Kenny Rankin,
Takes
like
you back
those,
in time.
Cascade songs. Yeah, it takes me back in time. It's also it gives you like sort of like inner peace in a way.
I
Like,
agree.
you go back in time and you try to reminisce about
The world that was innocent. The world that was innocent, right? It wasn't too
the world that
complicated.
really didn't have any technology.
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
only thing you had was a radio and your imagination. You turn
Yeah.
on the radio, you sit down, and you just like, what am I gonna do tomorrow? Or,
Dude,
daydreaming about your crush or something.
we grew up in an era, dude, where terms like emo, angst, grunge, all that stuff didn't exist yet. I mean, emo's from emotional, but of course we had that, but it wasn't like a term like, oh, you're emo. Ours was like senti. And senti or muni muni, that was more positive. That was more like missing somebody or just like reminiscing about the past. Emo now is kind of like taken as a negative context. Like, oh, you're emo. Like you're thinking of negative stuff, like a sad memory that's bringing you down. That's kind of like what emo is. Because if, like, yeah, like emo. And what was that other term that I mentioned? Like angst, like angst is like anger and whatever. Like we didn't have that rage. We didn't have that stuff back in the day. It was like we just accepted the good with the bad. I actually saw an interview, and it's not, I know you dealt with mental health. I have relatives who deal with mental health. I probably deal with mental health. But there was this interview with Gilbert Arenas, aka Agent Zero, my favorite basketball player back in the 2000, early mid 2000s, and he was being asked about because apparently there was this boxing match with Adrian Broner and another guy, and Adrian Broner canceled the fight because he had mental health issues, and Gilbert Arenas said, back in the day in the NBA, that won't cut it because if you use that as an excuse or you said that you have mental health issues so you can't play, like players like Kevin Garnett would eat you up. Like they would use that against you because the NBA was like they're all alpha males. And you show any sign of emotional weakness, Michael Jordan would cut you up. Like, like he said, like, yeah, we all had our problems, but nobody ever, that never manifested on court or off court. Nobody ever talked about it because you never wanted to show signs of weakness. I'm talking about athletes here, professional athletes. So this is not like normal people like us. So maybe the pressure on them was much bigger. And when I was watching that, I was like, I can't really think of an NBA player of recent memory who used like, who had a mental health issue or anything. Maybe Kyrie had, I don't know if Kyrie had any of that, but I can't think of any. So I don't really know if that's applicable in the NBA. But this was like a boxer that we're talking about. So obviously, if he's not mentally fit to fight, why should he? I mean, I totally agree. But I think back in the day too, it's not just that it's not that all of a sudden mental health became an issue in this day and age. It's a product of also the world that we live in now. Like back in the day, people like what you would talk about. People would get together more. There was a lot more socializing face to face. There was more person to person interaction. There were more relationships that was not online or just based on short conversations. We would be on the phone for 3 hours with the girl, so we really got to know her in depth. And now it's like you have just disposable relationships. Now you have this like online friendships, and now you have people not talking when they're together. And I think that's yeah. Ryan Garcia used that excuse last year when he backed out on a boxing match. Okay, so Patrick, you take it as an excuse, or
What's up,
I'm
Joe boy?
the man who's battling the big C,
Right.
corruption. Well, you're better off probably finding a cure for cancer than corruption, my friend. But yeah, so Ryan Garcia, Patrick, what's your take on it? When Ryan Garcia used that, because Ryan Garcia is fairly young, so uh, like he can't fight, whatever. Like, I don't know what I don't know though, because it's kind of hard. It's harder to accept it as it's not an excuse, but it's harder to kind of comprehend what he could have been going through, considering everything that's like positive in his life. But we can't speak for him, you know. The things that we see as a blessing in his life, he might be seeing it differently, because you always look at the other side of the fence. What's your take on it, Ice? About like Gilbert Arenas' comment about if you use mental health, or you mentioned that like in an NBA, as an NBA player, as a professional athlete, you'd be eaten alive, because like back then they were not allowed to show that. Like we were not allowed to show that as kids, right? If dude, we were bullied, but we never even brought it
I
up,
get him. I get him because
right?
he's. I mean, I'm from his generation too, right? So I totally get him. Um,
But somebody dealing with it yourself, I mean, you've dealt with it. I've dealt with it, I'm sure. I just
yeah,
don't
but
entertain it.
no,
I try to
it's
ignore
more
it.
of because that it's anxiety on my part. It's like everybody goes through that. It's like you see. Here's the thing. What I went through was your filter's not working. It happens to everybody, but because of the pandemic and whatnot, something changed in your. Like I think we all go through that at some point, right? That was probably one of the things that I have to deal with when I didn't actually seriously thought about killing myself. My dad did.
Oh, shoot,
At
really?
my age, he did. I think
Dang.
he was like in his 40s when he thought about that because we were going through a lot of shit, and he thought about like, what if I just like run in front of a freaking jeepney or a truck? Then
And end this
if I
shit,
die,
yeah.
then yeah, because he was like thinking about us, and he said, "Well, I'm insured. A million pesos would probably cut it for my family." But I mean, he got over that hump, and he was fine, right? So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
every person has to go through some crap, and that was the thing that I had to go through. It's one of those things, like I was
Yeah. And
really
still
scared, but
going
now,
through. And still
yeah, I
going through,
mean,
right?
now
I mean,
it's
you're
just
not.
like now I realize like I can think about anything, like I thought about a lot of things in my life that I never did. Like there were times that I'm like like when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, I could punch this guy in the face right now, and like I could, like, I never did. I've I've,
Yeah.
I've thought about
Intrusive
that
thoughts.
many times.
Yeah, I have that too,
Yeah,
dude.
these things,
Trust
man.
me.
But I never even thought about like entertaining it because back in the days, like, because it was so easy to forget it because the next chapter of your life is just right around the corner, unfolding.
I
You
got
meet
it.
your friends, you meet your coworkers, and you're on the go. You're on the
But
go. Then the
now, with your
pandemic hit.
situation now, it's like all of a sudden that sticks, right?
Yeah, because I think I would have to blame it on the pandemic because there wasn't so much going on. I'm stuck here at home, and there was just like nobody to like to interact with, and you kind of like, all right, you're all of a sudden like, oh my god, is this my reality now? It's like, why am I not seeing a lot of people? Like, why am I not doing a lot of things? And like you have all these like
it's
noise
it's
inside
the
your head.
best way to deal with it because I feel like it's there in me too. Like I have it too. I think we all have. Like my wife would have it too. Even the happiest person in the world probably has that too in them. But some people just like refuse to entertain it or to not glorify it, but sort of like like because you read up on it. You figured it out. You tried to figure out that hey, this is not just something that's there that I can just shut down. I have to read about it. I have to know the enemy. I have to know how to deal with the enemy. And maybe it's not the enemy. Maybe it's the way. And you did that. And for me, it's like I refuse to even like read anything about it. Like you gave me that book suggestion, and I'm like,
Mhm.
shit. I feel like if I read it, then I'll start thinking deeper into it, and then it'll start to manifest itself, and it will start to become like a bigger thing than it is, rather than me. Because I mean, I had a traumatic childhood, man, and that thought comes into my head from time to time, but it's like it's not that I'm distracted. I'm a loner. You know that. I draw a lot. I write songs, but I think my coping mechanism is I'm able to channel it elsewhere. Like when I do my ad libs when we do a show, right? When I do my radio show, I channel it through that. When I draw a
Yeah, that
picture,
helped me too. When my
right?
father died, that helped me a lot. When my father was
You
going through his battle with end stage renal failure. Yeah, I mean, people would be like, "Oh, how can you do that? Your father's in the ICU, and you would still come here and work, and you're not even, you're not. I'm not even connected to the radio station anymore,
but
but I
that
would go
was what
there
was healing you,
for free.
right?
But yeah, because that takes my mind off what's going on in my life, and so now it's the pandemic is slowly. I mean, it's people are still making a big deal out of it. Some people, but basically now it's been mostly back to normal. Like basketball's
Almost
back,
about eighty
right?
percent,
So
right?
yeah,
About
except the mask thing, but everybody's out and about now. Like if I actually want to go out and like go to Nagoya and have fun, I can actually do that. But I refuse to do so because I got busier with Snow's schedule as well. Like Snow has to do basketball on Saturday, then she has to do piano as well. Then she has basketball again on Monday, then Friday swimming for her,
so
and she
busy
has
for
like
you is
all
good.
her.
Busy for you is
Busy
good.
for me is good. Busy for me
Okay.
is good. It's like it has to be busy with something that you like doing. So if you like what you're doing, if you like what you're into, like if you like, I mean, not even necessarily. I mean, if you're actually, if your mind's preoccupied, then that's good for me, because my mind is always constantly running. It's like that's how I am. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a deep sleeper guy. Like I can't even like sleep really late. I can't sleep like the whole day. I can't do that. Some people
Yeah.
can do that. I know I have friends who can sleep for 10, 12 hours. I can't do that. Like 8 is a stretch. If I can do 8, that's like, whoa, that's a miracle. My regular sleeping hours are like 5 to 6 hours, right? But I
Yeah.
have to take naps in between. But that's the thing. It's more of like, all right, I need, like back in the day I was like that. I had 2 jobs. People were like, why do you have 2 jobs? Like, well, I like having 2 jobs. I didn't want to just sit around. I mean, it wasn't like I was, in construction, that I was doing security guard at night. No, I wasn't doing that. I was doing
But
medical
still, man.
receiving.
But still,
It was like
that's
talking to
yeah.
people, sitting around, waiting around. Then I would go to the radio station, do our shit for 3 hours, and I would
That's why
go
you
to the club,
embraced it.
and
That's why you embraced
that
it
was that
because
was fine for me.
maybe
That was fine.
unknowingly that was how you dealt with stressful thoughts,
Probably.
which I could see in you because the more I got to know you, when I first met you, I was like, I thought you were just this party boy, fuck boy, whatever the heck you were, DJ guy. And then I
Yeah, I
realized, dude, you have
I was. I
and no, no,
was.
no. I know. That's what I saw. But like, I kind of realized that, dude, you have like this responsibility. You felt responsible to your siblings. You felt like, you had to earn this money. You had a very high kind of bar. Not like high like cut kind of high, but high like, you couldn't take a breather. Like you, and I realized that about you. It's like this dude can't take a breather. Like there's always a method to your madness. There's always a reason why you took this gig. There's always a reason why you're staying up this late. There's always a reason why you went to Japan. There's always a reason why, like it wasn't like you were not doing it because it was like, oh, you had another choice, but you chose that. That would be me. Like I would be the guy who probably had options, and I probably just didn't choose the better options for. But still, I feel like I'm in a good place and a better place than if I had chosen other things. But for you, it's like you didn't even have options. Like you probably felt like you had to, and good thing that it worked out for you, right? You
Here's the
did.
thing.
I felt that
I'm a
about
realist,
you
right? Like I'm a realist, and to
because you're like
me,
a kuya, man. You
I
have to
am.
understand.
But there are always options too. Like for example, even okay, let's take for example my brother. He has options too, but he always pick the bad option, right? So I
Because
mean,
he's the
he
bunso,
always
he's the younger brother.
right. So I mean, to me, that doesn't cut it. I'm like, come on, like what? You're bunso, and what? Does that entail you to make the stupid decisions? Like
Because
you
there's a kuya
know,
like you. Because there's a kuya like you who thinks that way. So he never felt like he had to be that way. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
You know
but
what I'm saying? It's not an
I get tired of it now.
excuse.
Like now,
It's not.
I don't even want to deal with his shit, and my sister's tired too. So it's more of like I have little patience for people who are obnoxious these days. Like we have something going on in our family, cousins and stuff. And to me, it's just like, oh come on, all these excuses. I mean, come on. Like I know what your end game is, and I know what the real reason is why you're not, um, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and it's all right, fine. I mean, let's just lay it on, like lay it all down. Like this is what's gonna happen. If you're not gonna do this, is what's gonna happen. And if in when if the shit hits the fan, you'll be sorry. And I mean, I just want to tell them straight, just like that. Like if you don't do this, this will happen. And you know that this way, it's not a matter of if, but it's only a matter of when.
But you know the
And
sad part? When you talk like that to them, to these people, they look at you and they always say like, "Oh, you're just yeah. What do you know?" Because they don't see the kid who went through no electricity for how long. They didn't see the kid who had to adjust. You know what I'm
oh,
saying? And you don't have to justify yourself. You don't have to tell them, "Oh, because I went through this, so I'm entitled to tell you this." But that's just how people are. I noticed that about people. Like if you tell people certain things, they look at you and they just think they see like the shallowest side of you. Like, oh, you're saying that because you're in Japan. Oh, you're saying that because So who are you?
actually, like
But you're
you,
saying it from experience, right?
yeah. Sometimes I feel stupid too because what I went through like 2 years ago, I was just like, holy, I mean, what was I worried about? You know what I'm saying? I was like, holy shit, I was so worried about it. that I forgot that I went through a lot of. I
Okay,
could have
which one? The one where
cried.
you nearly died, or the one where you got caught? Well, which one was that? I mean, come on, you have
No. I mean,
to. The
two
one where
years
you
ago when
nearly
I
died.
well, no, I mean, I was thinking about like the mental issues that I was going through. It's
Oh, yeah,
basically
yeah,
like,
very recent,
oh, what
very
if you
recent. Yeah.
do this, right? Well, what if you do this? But then if I actually really go back in the day, I was like, we didn't have anything to eat. And there were so many things. I mean, it's not just one thing. We didn't have anything to eat. We didn't even have a house. We didn't have electricity. We didn't have a lot of things. I have to go to school with my underwear, like
Backwards.
c- yeah, no, I mean it's because the garter's like already worn out, and it would come off my shorts, literally come off my shorts, and I have to like pull it and like just yeah, try to tuck it
So
in my
are you a product
actually
now
pulling it
of
out.
those experiences? I want to know. Would Iceman be different if you didn't go through all those, or is that the you? Like, I mean, just
No,
knowing
probably
yourself.
it would probably be different, but because of those experiences,
Look at us. Look at us as dads, right? Let's just look at us as dads. I never thought I'd be this kind of dad. Like I never like I never thought I'd be like hands on with my kids and be super OC about stuff. I never thought about that because like I was never like that with anybody in my life. I never had that responsibility bestowed upon me to except when my Lola got old and she was bedridden, but that was nobody even pressured me to do that. That was voluntary for me to do that. So I'm like, why are we this
it's
kind of
definitely
parents that
because
we
of
are?
our. I mean, at
So what
least
do
for
you
me, it's
think? Where
definitely
did
because
that?
of my experience.
Okay, so you think
It
that
could be.
made you who you are now? You'd be different. You won't be as like I was. The term won't be like strict or like You're
Yeah,
not
I'm
a
not even
pessimist, right?
strict. No, I'm not even strict with snow. It's just that there are certain things that she needs to do.
No, I mean like
I,
with your like when you talk about like with family and stuff, and you tell them the consequences of their actions. Like, it's kind of like nobody wants to hear that shit. That's the problem with Filipinos. Filipinos always want the good ending. Like whenever a Filipino is told to save, whenever a Filipino is told to mag whenever a Filipino is told to do something that is the right path, we always use it. We always take it
no, I
negatively. I
mean,
mean, right?
no, I'm
Like,
okay. Here's the thing. I'm a
selos
realist. I'm
lang
not a
yan. Ano lang
pessimist.
yan.
I'm not. Well, I can be an optimist, but I'm more of a realist. I'm always realistic with stuff, and I'm not even strict. I would I'm just echoing what my father used to say back in the day. Don't do stupid things. Don't be stupid. It's that's basically it. You don't have to be the smartest kid, but don't be stupid,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
be dumb. Don't be stupid. That's what
Yeah.
that's what he always tells us. My brother, the other one in Canada, he's like the slowest motherfucker like ever, right? Like he's just like dumb. He's like
Well,
stupid.
I hope he's not
Like
watching.
academically, well, he knows that. He would say that too. Like,
Well,
yeah,
he's got a pretty good life though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
like
not bad
yeah,
for
because he's not stupid.
because he needs to
He's
do. Okay, okay. All
academically
right, all right,
stupid.
okay,
All right,
okay.
he's academically stupid, but he's not stupid in life, and that's what our father, you know, always tell us: do not be stupid. So that brother of mine in Canada, he was academically stupid, but he was really gifted as an athlete. He was a good basketball player. He had discipline,
He was a
and
good kid.
he was a good kid. And yeah, he wasn't stupid. Like okay, case in point, he had a friend back in high school who was like rich. Like this guy was crazy ass rich, right? You probably know his last name, but I'm not gonna drop it. So this guy's rich, and like he's buddy with this person. Then they got to college, and my brother's still in like the basketball team and whatnot. And that guy would call him right at home, and my mom would pick up the phone. I'm like, oh, hello. And then they would like, oh, good morning, ma'am. Is Alfred there? I'm like, who's this? Oh, it's blah blah blah. And then my brother's actually already there when my mom picked up the phone because it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Alfred, and like my mom would look at him, and who's this? And like, you know, it's blah blah blah. And my mom said, blah blah blah. Oh, how are you? And looking at my brother, and my brother would be like, I'm like, oh, he's not here, still busy, blah blah blah. And my mom would be like, why are you not hanging out with that guy? Right? Most parents would be like, oh, you stick with that person, like
Take a
you be
picture.
friends with that person because that person is like he's rich. They have a
Super
good
rich.
situation in life, right? So I mean, you can make connections. You can probably you can probably get something out of it in the future. But you know what my brother said? I'm like, no, I'm not gonna cuddle up with this guy. Like, why? These guys are using like whatever. He was like, they're using drugs and shit. Like, I can't be there. I don't use drugs. But my mom's like, well, you don't have to do drugs. I'm like, yeah, but what if they get caught? What if something happens, right? What if there's a raid? I'm the poor guy in that freaking
Yeah, yeah,
group.
yeah. He'll be
They
the
would,
he'll be
yeah,
the yes, yes.
they would dump it down on
He would
me.
be the bait. Yeah, yeah.
I would go to jail and these people would be scot free. Nobody told him that. My brother thought about that, right? I mean, that never happened. They never got raided or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But he was conscious about it. So he was like, no, I'm not gonna go with these guys. I'm not gonna hang out with these guys. If I see
Yeah.
them outside, yes. But if they come pick me up or whatever,
So
if
it's a
they were having
different
a
kind of
party or whatever,
smart. No,
yeah.
different kind of
So
smart.
that's what my father always say. Like even me, my friends back then, they did all those things. I never did. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I never did drugs. I don't gamble. I don't do a lot of these things. But I hang out with people who do. I don't judge them. Right?
Yeah.
It's their decision. I don't tell them like, don't do that, man. Don't do drugs. I never told them. They're old
But
enough
you're
to know
still
what's right
friend.
and what's wrong.
But you're still
We're
friends
still
with them.
friends. But every time they look at each other funny, and I know that they're actually on their way to
Speaking in
do
code,
shit,
like they're speaking codes.
yes, I would like, all right, I'm going home. I'm bailing out. You know, I like I would like, and they can't force me to
And
do so. They can't even force me to drink an alcohol, let alone
we
make me do
couldn't,
drugs.
dude. Just for people, just for the folks out there, just so they know, it's it's probably easier to walk on the moon for a man than to resist alcohol when you're a DJ for how many years, especially a party station. It's I don't know how Ice did it. Like I thought at first it was like religion or something, and then you know, and then he let loose, but he's still stuck with that. So you're one of those people, man, who like you could actually if you actually let's say had the vow of silence. Is that vow of silence? Is that what that is? You know what Julia Roberts did in Eat Pray Love, where she didn't talk. I think it was vow of silence, but like yeah, like some
Sounds
sort
like
of like
vows
like you
silence.
won't talk for like 300 days or something. Like really won't
Shit,
talk.
can't do
You
that. I'll
will
die.
push, dude. I know. But I know
For
that would
24
be
hours.
impossible. That would be the impossible one. But I'm just saying, like for me, maybe like that no drinking thing, it would be just as hard like if, for you not talking for that long like because it's not that I'm alcoholic but like I
No, not because you drink, you're alcoholic. Like I would, like people would say, like, "Oh, your dad's an alcoholic." No, he wasn't alcoholic. He likes to drink. He's not alcoholic.
no
Like
but
when you,
yeah
right?
I
So
don't
if
drink
you
I
don't
don't
like to
drink
drink,
by
you're not
myself now
alcoholic.
I do but back in the day it's like
Yeah, but you're not alcoholic.
especially when there are girls around it's like I needed to let
Why?
loose
I drink soft drinks a lot. I'm a soft drinkaholic.
no because
It's kind of stupid, right?
no I think what I think why I think why it worked for you was that you never really did it. So you really didn't know what positive effects, if it brought any, would bring in. So you didn't even think about that. You were just like, you were so used to interacting with people, women or otherwise, pretty or not, that sober, that it was fine that you didn't have anything. Like, even that's probably why sometimes I would catch you and you're like a bit high strung. Like you would come in the station and you're like, and for me probably like maybe alcohol would loosen me up, like if I have something that's like difficult to
Probably,
digest and my chest is
probably.
like tightening, maybe my girl's breaking up with me, maybe I find out that a friend scammed me, or maybe I find out that something embarrassing, like a little alcohol would probably get me through the night. You never did that and you never needed that because you didn't really know that it would do that for you. But if you're somebody who's already experienced alcohol and got tipsy and got jiggy with a girl and it brought out a fun side of you, and for you to just all of a sudden like stop cold turkey, it's gonna be harder. So I think for you, why it worked was that it's like drugs, like since you don't know the high that it would bring, you didn't know what you were missing out on, you couldn't care less. And the best thing that you did was that you never even tried it. Because I remember you telling me, because I asked you, why don't you try it? Because you said, oh, because I see its effect on my dad. I see its effect on my brother. I don't want to be like that. Like, and I was like, yeah, I never thought of that. Like, I never thought of it that way because nobody in my family was a drinker. My mom's allergic to alcohol. My dad had a traumatic experience back then, so he never drank again. And nobody in my family smoked except my mom back in my younger years. So I really didn't have family to look at and say, oh, I don't like the negative effect of this substance on my mom and my dad. Because it was just all my friends. And for some reason, we couldn't care less about our friends. You know, like if our friends are drunk, we care about our friends. But if they're drunk, if they're high, if they're doing stupid stuff, it's not, doesn't have an effect on
Yeah, I
us,
think it
right?
was, it was kind of personal. Actually, it was more like when people hear me say things like that, they'd feel, oh wow, we drank and we're bad people, or we did drugs, we're bad people. Like, no, it's not even that. Like, I've never, like, okay, even with drugs, like that, drugs. If you live in Spain, or I don't know, in Portugal, then you wouldn't have a
Amsterdam.
problem. Yeah, in Amsterdam, then that's probably fine, right? But like, we have different drug laws. Like, every country has different drug laws, and to me, like, philosophically, I'm like, the state shouldn't have a say on what people ingest or what they put in their bodies, right? That's what I believe. If they do something crazy, then they should be held accountable for it. You know what I'm saying?
Whether
If
they
you see
ingested
that,
anything or not.
yeah, whether, yeah,
Right?
regardless if they ingested anything or not, right? So basically, what it's like eating food. Whatever food you eat, that's your business. So whatever that is that they put in their bodies, they get high, whatever, that's their business. They start raping people, they have to go to jail. They have to answer for that. If they start robbing, they start, like, hurting other people, that's a different story. But just like the act itself, I'm thinking like, I don't do that, but I don't judge these people. So
Yeah.
that's, just to be clear. So that's why I hang out with people who did all of these things, but I never did. So every time they're on their way to party, or do something really crazy, I never really had the urge to actually join them, because I'm like, all right, I can just like
So
go
you've
home.
never
And
actually like witnessed like a session or anything, right? Like you never
I
actually.
have,
Oh,
because
you
there was like one.
have.
I have, like, in front of me. They were doing it in front of me. They were just like, sniffing whatever that is. There was like, that smoke
They're
coming out of
passing it to
whatever
you,
that. No, they
and
didn't
you're
pass it
like,
to me. I was just like looking at them,
and you were like
and
secretly going,
I was like,
secretly trying to
it,
inhale the secondhand smoke.
no, dude, it actually looked
No, I'm kidding.
pathetic
I'm
to me.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Like, to me, I was like, oh my god, look at these guys. I was looking at them, like, I was probably judgy at that time,
Yeah.
because I finally saw what it was, because I've seen it in the
And you
movies,
see the
right?
behavioral change, right? You see how like they
Right.
get all
And it's
excited and they
like,
get all yeah.
and I was looking at them, and I'm like, my God, they need this. They need this for that energy that they want. I'm like, I can have that anytime without the smoke,
That's true.
without trying to
Well,
ingest the
there you
smoke.
go. That's the
Like, I'm a
reason.
natural high. I'm like,
Yes.
I don't need that. I can
You're
be like,
naturally talkative.
I'm naturally high.
You're all, it's
That's
like you always look like you always look like you did a line of coke or something. You know what I'm saying? You always
exactly. That's why Master Yoda would always joke about it, like, hooey, hooey. Someone like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm cool. Mura manig high ning bata ni. I'm like, they would, right? 'Cause I was looking at them while they were doing it, and I was just like, holy shit. It looked kind of pathetic. I was like, oh my god. And I mean, the money that they have to spend for it,
and it
and the
probably
trouble,
was.
yeah,
I mean,
the
it
trouble if they
was.
get caught with it, man. I mean, in here they are. They're like, I was like, it was so pathetic. I was like, holy crap.
And
Like,
it's not
holy
life
that,
changing. I mean, it's life
it's
changing
not.
if you
It's
get caught,
not.
but it's not like their life improved after that. You know what I'm
But
saying? Like,
I was just thankful that they were able to leave it. Like, they were just like, all right, we're done
and
with
now
it.
they're normal people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're back to normal lives. Yeah,
So basically, normal people would like do things. They would just like leave it. You know.
yeah.
But there are some people who are like really weak and they
Oh,
get
they get
addicted
stuck.
to it.
They
They
get
get
stuck.
stuck.
Yeah,
Those are the people who needs help, right?
and you know what?
They need
The-
help. I don't
and
think they
that
should go to prison. I think they need help.
yeah, I agree. They have it's probably in their DNA. Like like gamblers. People like I've been to
Right.
the casino. I've been to the casino many times.
Yeah,
I've
I
had
mean, that's good.
opportunities to gamble for free, right? I mean, you
Never
we were
get,
given
yeah.
free, but it's like it just
Some
doesn't.
people can't get out of it.
I
These
don't
people
get
are trapped,
excited. It
right?
doesn't excite
I
me. Like,
know.
I'll try
Like, in the
it for
casino, sure.
fun, but I
But give
start
it a
lose
chance.
it. I lose
Not
100,
100.
200, 200. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know.
sayang, right?
I had an uncle who was like, who likes going to casinos, and I went there and I was given chips and shit. and like, oh, you're winning, then I lost all of it. It was like, all right, but fuck. I mean, that wasn't my money, but I already felt bad about it. I lost
Yeah,
that free money, and I already felt bad. It was
felt
like, oh,
bad.
that was stupid.
You
I should
know,
have just like kept it.
you remember when we used to go to Brugger's, right?
Right.
Brugger's, and there's this old guy, Master Lou's name, and he's this guy who taught me magic, and he would like show us magic from time to time. And I found out about his family history, and he told me that he actually has a son, I think in Hawaii or something, who's like in the U.S. Army or something. He hasn't seen him in years, and I asked him like, "Oh, where's your family? Where's your?" He said, and the only thing he told me was that stay away from casinos. That's actually what he said. He didn't elaborate on what happened to him and his family. He just said, stay away from casinos. And that advice of his, that probably would have worked on another guy, but it was an advice that I didn't need. That's like telling me, you know, don't smoke cigarettes or whatever. Because I tried and it wasn't my thing. And I think some people just have that, Like some people like to play video games and some people don't. Some people like to draw, some people don't. Some people like to talk in public and some people don't. And I have friends who if he had told that person, that friend of mine, stay away from casinos because that's what ruined his life, I think that would have had an effect on certain friends of mine who really have gambling issues. And I have friends who have gambling issues. I mean, from online sabong to like they'll find it, even if it's not legal anymore. They'll find something to gamble on. It's like oh, isusugal ka pa ba? Pare, promise, hindi na ako susugal. Pustahan pa. Pusta pa, pre. Hindi na ako susugal. Ano, magkano? Ano, ha? Hindi na ako. Yeah, see? Yes. See, John Yap knows. Stark Yap knows. I remember recently he was really into casino before. And he told me that. That's all he said. When I asked him about his family, I just found out that he has a son who's like in the U.S. Army or something. And all he told me was that stay away from casinos. And I'm like, if I had been somebody who was on the cusp of having a gambling problem, that probably would have affected me so much because I saw him. He was an old guy living by himself, walks around the city by himself, just hangs out with kids or younger folks who like to learn magic or just hangs out with. He's like he lives
I saw him a lot
right.
at
He lives alone.
Bassie's Brew. Like at the
Yes,
surf
yes.
center.
That's where I met him first at Bassie's Brew.
I think at some point it was like with my dad, like in that group.
Yeah. That group. Yes. He has that group. He has those group of guys, and like he lived alone. Like I've never seen him with somebody caring for him. Like there was one time there was a guy caring for him, but he was like a guy who was like he was training magic too or something. The guy was just like idolizing him, so he was like his assistant. And I'm like, dang, I don't want to be like that when I mean, no disrespect to him, but I'm just saying like if that was what ruined the family unit, I'm like shit. I'm probably gonna stop gambling right then and there. But the thing was, I didn't have a gambling problem, and I never had a gambling problem, and I never will. So I wish it was another friend of mine or person he said that to wake that person up. Because it's like if somebody said that to me about, let's say, video games, uh, what happened to you and your family? Where's your family? Rod, stop playing video games. it's like him saying that to me. I would probably
Yeah, but okay,
think
but yeah, I
right.
mean, but okay. Here's the thing. Like, okay, right, okay. Um, it's so hard to actually delve into like these different issues that people have. Like, for example, drinking problem, gambling problem, drug problem. Like, there's a lot of problems, right?
Womenizing, sex,
Womanizing,
sex.
sex problem. Like, it's not even okay. Here's the thing. Like, for example, drinking, right? Drinking, like, I know people who drink every day, but I don't think they have drinking problems. You know what I'm
When does it
saying?
become a problem?
Dude, when you can't go to work. You know what I'm saying? If you can't go to work because you
What
want to drink, then that's a problem.
when you start beating up your wife, right, or your kids?
Yeah, not even if you don't beat them up, but you can't function like a human
Okay,
being,
so that
like a
becomes a
normal
problem.
person,
Okay.
that becomes a problem, right?
All right,
If you
all right.
can't do your job anymore, I mean, if you can't function like an adult, then that's when it becomes a problem. I mean, there are people who hurt their wives even if they're not drinking.
If
They're
yes,
just like,
yes,
yeah,
you're
they're
right.
just
You're
like
right. Point taken.
even
Yes,
without the influence of alcohol. Right?
correct, correct,
If they
correct.
don't need alcohol,
That's
to
even
affect
worse. I
their
think that's even
their
worse
partner.
because like you have no
Exactly.
excuse.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So it's really hard to like, oh, is it a problem? Like, no, I know a lot of people who would be drinking every day, but I don't consider them having a drinking problem. It's just something that they do. You know, some people play basketball a lot, right? Like I know some Japanese guys here who would play like what, 4 times a week. There's even one guy who almost plays every day. Well, should I call it a basketball problem? No, I mean he just likes basketball, right? Like after work, crap.
Caring for your
Okay,
family anymore, maybe,
right,
or
yeah. So
you're
yeah, if you just
responsible.
play basketball and don't function like
Yeah.
an actual adult, like
You're like,
being with the
should I
family and
buy
whatnot,
should I buy the milk for the baby or the new Kyrie's?
that's the
Kyrie's.
problem, right? So that's what I'm saying. So it's so hard to be a judge. You know, it
Yeah,
that's
because
why
it might
I
be a
always
problem for you. Like for you, if you went through that, maybe that might be a problem already. But
yeah,
maybe
that's
this
why I
person,
do. Yeah,
right?
maybe he can handle it like me. That's
Marunong
why I
magdala.
never I never tried all these things. People are like, yeah, you can, like, no, I don't know how I would react if I start drinking. I don't know if I would like it
It's
too much,
it was
right?
like radio for us.
Right.
It was like
Like I love radio, right?
it's like
It changed my
look at
life.
us. You know what? I'm not impressed, but you know what made me sort of proud of our core group back in Kilubi. You know that group of Billy Kane, Joe, myself. We all were in a serious relationship. Ripper was in a serious relationship. Chuck was in a more than how many years relationship. We all were with the same women for like a long time. I mean, yeah, granted, mine, we broke up and but still, it was like the total opposite of what somebody would probably assume of us, considering, the lifestyle we lived and the career that we had. And I was like, holy crap, we all actually have solid relationships at the time. Like, you've been together with your girl for like how long? Yeah, all of us, none of us was like floating status. I'm sure the guys before us kind of had pathetic relationships. I don't know. Maybe they could balance it. I don't know what was wrong with them. But it's like most people would probably say, pag nag-DJ ka at may girlfriend ka, problema yan. Magkaka-problema ka. But not really. I mean, sure, we had our bumps and whatnot with our relationships during that time, but it wasn't like it wasn't an issue that stopped us from being effective at what we did. And it sure as like our careers surely didn't really interfere with our relationships at the same time. So maybe for other guys, they probably won't be able to balance that lifestyle with a serious relationship. Diba? And we saw some of them. We witnessed some of them. Like we witnessed some of our junior jocks. We witnessed some of our we witnessed our some of our people that we knew in the industry whose marriages fell apart, whose relationships broke up because they couldn't balance. I don't want to use the word fame, but that kind of a lifestyle and a relationship outside of it. And we were all able to do that. I mean, decently. Joe had a long term relationship. Billy Kane had a long term relationship. Most of us married who we were with back in the day ended up, mouthed it. Billy Kane did. You did. For the most part, Ripper did. So it's like, I'm kind of proud of us in that way that we were all, nobody was really like playing the role of like the shithead, typical a-hole disc jockey stereotype. We all acted like we were, but we always had a home for our hearts. And I think that was, it wasn't destructive to our love life, if you wanted to use that term, because we needed that. We were all kind of balanced in that sense. No, but none of us also were kind of nasira sa bisyo, right? Think of it. None of us really like ended up in a rehab. None of us went to jail. None of us got in a serious fight or whatever. Considering this, the possible negative situations we could have gotten ourselves in. None of us got somebody pregnant who's like a listener. Well, you were rumored to, I think.
We all got lucky. We all got lucky. That's my
or
take
we're,
on it.
or we're
We
just
all
good at
got
keeping
lucky.
secrets. I don't know. Because if you guys kept secrets for me, then
We all
hey.
got lucky at the nobody got someone pregnant part. I think we all got lucky, or we're all smart. Either way, like
Or, she just decided to keep it a secret and not bother us. We don't know, right?
That's true.
But but that's what I'm saying, I mean, because usually a group of guys like that, given the situation we were in, man, yung maninibago, especially somebody young and naive. Oh shit, I'm a hotshot. Hey, girls recognize me. Shit, oh, I've got like a show. It's my name. I've got a shout out before I do my show. Whatever. People call me, and I don't even have to call girls. Girls call me. I can flirt with them for as long as I want. They would freak out if a DJ talked to them for longer than 5 minutes. With that voice and shit. I mean, we could have all used that to our advantage, and maybe we did partially, but we did not. None of us became that typical a-hole guy. Maybe because that's what Billy Kane would keep telling me too. And maybe we all kept each other in check. Because you were that way, Ripper was that way, Billy Kane was that way. We all kind of had each other's back. We didn't want to be the one that ruined the chemistry. Right? You know how hard it was for anybody to join our group? Like, if we ever had a new male jock, was he really able to penetrate that core group? No, because we would we wouldn't criticize him, but we'd be like, he would fold in one way or the other. Like, pumilo sa kasikatan. Ano pala to, medyo mabuti lang sa simula, pero di kinaya yung bisyo. Ito magnanakaw pala. Ito, user. Like, none of us were that way. No, I don't think we could label any of us that way. We could still hang out now and look at each other in the eye and say, I didn't offend you in any way, And that was cool because in that industry, like in Manila, pag yung mga banda, that's the bands, mga banda. Like, did you know that side A is not together anymore? I mean, what? Like Joey G's on his own? Like, for the longest time that they've been together, what happened? Something happened, right? I mean, I don't think Joey G woke up. Something happened, dude.
I mean, even Bamboo's not a band
I
anymore.
know. See, right? I mean, like, something happened. So that means there was a screw loose in that unit. And that.
It's I would have to.
But for us, the only
I would
reason
have
why
to
we separated
blame-
was
I would have
because,
to blame personalities and egos. I mean,
Yeah, that's the word, ego.
it's kind of hard if you have, if you have all these people in a group and I mean, all of them have egos and different personalities. I mean, it will only be a matter of time until it blows up. I mean, look at what happened to Take That, right?
Yes.
Gary Barlow.
Robbie Williams was the one
Robbie
that
Williams.
started it.
So yeah, I mean that happened.
Yeah.
I mean the Backstreet Boys. I mean they were all like they're cool, but even NSYNC they broke up and there were talks that Justin Timberlake was a prima donna and well I mean you're in a group where you're famous and I don't know maybe everybody wants to be number one or whatever.
Yeah.
But with what we had, it was because we had different personalities, and we kind of like accepted our personalities, and we kind of stick to our market. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was known for being the guy
The
who
baguettes.
attracts
The younger- the young- yes,
younger
yes.
audience, right?
Yeah.
The
And we
college-
hated you for that.
the colegialas and shit.
Mao and I hated you for that.
All right. So I was like, I didn't do that on purpose. It was just like, all right, I don't know why I attract,
Like I said, I met my wife through you.
right? But then Billy Kane would be like attracting those milfs,
Yeah, the
mature,
MILF.
hot women, and I was dying to be with one of
You
those
Jeez.
mature hot women, and I.
So we
can't
were never really
just-
happy
they-
with
they
what
were-
we
Yeah, nobody got attracted to me. Like they always look at me like, totoy pa.
and Joe was
You
the
call it totoy? You want me to
Joe-
toto you?
Joe was the silent and deadly type, right?
He's the silent assassin.
Yeah,
He's the
silent assassin, man. That guy's like, you could be next to a girl and they would have history already and you wouldn't even know it. Like, he'll pretend he doesn't know her. He's that kind of guy. He's like, You know,
Yeah.
he's not. He's, you know, he certainly wouldn't brag about it.
Beware of Joe. Kay mamunal na. Mamunal kita. Munalan.
Smile,
Kanina
smile
ginulat.
lang, you know. He,
Mamunal na.
yeah,
Mamunal.
he picks his fights, man. Like he knows when. You know what I'm saying? Like he knows when to find an opening. Boom, and that's when he does it. I'm like, I don't know. I can't even like classify myself. I'm like just anything goes. You know, like I try to take a bit of each one of you. You know, like I try to take this side. Okay, but I've always kind of preferred, of course, the younger one. So Billy Kane and I have never competed. I don't think we, we ever competed in the same. And Mao, you know, Mao also, you know, Mao had this like, you know, the social crowd, and we needed that. We needed that balance, man. We needed that balance because Mao brought in the social crowd, you know, and in the usual crowd that we probably wouldn't even bother entertaining. Had Mao not be friends with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, ah, we'll see them at the bar. Ah, who cares? Yeah, sikat ka nung college, pero sino ka ngayon? You know what I'm saying? Like we had that attitude, right? Like some of these people were like, yeah, sikat ka nung college, but who are you now? You know what? You know what you?
Yeah, but they're only sikat to the people that who wants to be like them. They're never like nobody really
That's
cared
true.
about
That's
them.
true. That's true. But
Nobody really
we,
cared about these people. But because we are in the middle,
yes,
we
yes, we're in the
don't want to be
middle.
like them, but we kind of envy what they have.
Yes,
We don't want to
yes,
be like them.
yes, we were in the
And we
middle.
don't want to be like we don't want to be in the you know like the bulingit side. So it's like we're in
No,
the
no.
middle. We
We
it's
had
like it's
we lean more towards the bullying it.
yeah we do
I was
for
more
the most
comfortable
part,
with it.
right? But it's a sort of like love hate relationship. We kind of like love them, but at the same time hate them. So that was a relationship to these socialero people. You know, that at least that's how I was towards
Yeah, I
them.
know. Like I
I
could.
kind of like
Yeah,
envy them a little bit, but I don't want to be like them. But
yeah.
I don't want to
Like
go to the other side as well. I mean, yeah,
we
I'm
could
okay with it.
we could
I would
fit
fit
in.
in.
I
I
mean,
could
no,
fit
no,
in.
no, no. I think we could fit in, but it'll be exhausting if we did it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's true.
you know what? We could
That's
fit in,
true.
but it's not all the time. Like I want to be with my bullying it crowd too, because that's where I felt at home. You
I
know,
know.
because
Me
these
too.
these were
Yeah, yeah.
right.
It's like you know.
Right? But
All right.
but I wouldn't mind dipping my toes into those waters once in a while. You don't mind drinking avian or
Right. I'm
right?
with you know. In the bullying it crowd, I fit like a glove, man, like a hand in a glove, just like that, right?
But you're secretly
But
looking at, you know,
yeah, I'm like,
yeah, I wonder how that feels.
looks nice there.
Yeah,
But,
because you know, with their taglish conversations, oh, and their beso beso shit and all that crap. I'm like, man, I wonder
I
how,
know. And
you know,
sometimes when
like
you listen to their conversation, you know that there's like lots of bullshit going around, and you want to call it, but you can't because like for some reason they pretend that it's all real. You know what I'm saying? And you're just amazed. You're like sitting there, you're listening to them, and you're like, oh, geez, these people actually believe what they're talking about. Like they actually believe what they're saying.
and they're
And
like
you want to
holding
call
their
the
beer,
bullshit.
and they're
Yeah,
like
I know.
holding
And you
their
want to,
beer, like
and you know, I mean, like you're probably there screaming. I mean, inside you, you're already screaming like bullshit. Like every time they say something, you'd be like bullshit. I will
it's
call
like
that bullshit.
it's like
Right?
it's like they're standing like this holding their beer, and like you just want
Yeah.
to walk up to them and go, "Huy, wala pa kayo mga tao kung tagahuna ka." It's like
Right?
nobody gives a shit where you live. Nobody gives a shit where your dad is. You know what I'm saying? It's like for the most part, really nobody does give a shit. But for some reason, some people that's all they have. The only thing they have is that, you know, that they
I
went to
know.
this school, that they're whatever, you know, they
I
live
mean,
in this residence.
they have insecurity problems.
That's
That's why they're
all
like that
they
in the first
have.
place.
I'm like,
I mean, the insecurity in these people. I mean, you know. Well, I mean, why would you do that?
yeah.
I mean,
Dude,
you
I'm
know.
telling you, man. We're the free ones. We're the ones who live in the middle. Us, we're the ones who have the freedom because, like, dude. I walked around Cabaguio looking for an auto repair shop who would sell like spark plug and like an adapter thing because my Kia Pride broke down when I drove my wife to work in SPMC, and I was wearing boxer shorts and a butas-butas shirt because I didn't know I was gonna have a car breakdown experience. I thought I was like, I woke up, brought my wife to work, and then boom, my car won't start. So I was like walking, And I didn't have that fear of like, shit, may makakita sa akin elitista na friend ko. Shit, it's gonna be my career's ruined. Like, I'm no longer the social. I didn't have that at all. I was like, I don't give a shit. You know, like they might see me on stage somewhere tomorrow. They might, but I didn't have that complex and that fear. And trust me, dude, I have elitista friends, and they have that fear. They can't even be seen on a jeep. They can't even eat maruya in public. You know what I'm saying? It's like
The insecurity in these people,
because that's
right?
what defines them. That's not what defines
I know
us. You know,
their
I can
insecurities.
out English you and still walk around looking yagit as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, the German friends I met back in the day, they took the jeep and they didn't care. These
I
are German
know,
people.
and they're blonde and blue eyed. They didn't even care. Ikaw pa? You know what? I mean, so that's what
Galagaw
they
lang
don't.
ng agi mo.
That's what they don't get.
Let's say.
So okay, that's one. Okay, that's another. Going back to our initial topic, that's connected to it. Those are things that impressed us back in the day that now we're not as impressed anymore. You know, those personalities back in school that we looked at because they drove a car, because they wore a certain brand of jeans, because they dated a certain girl. We all like kind of like, man, this guy, he's gonna be something. And then you see them now, and you know, like out of shape, and they're
I
like,
know, right?
you see them at a bar, and they're so pathetic, you know, trying to hit on the waitress and
To be
shit.
honest, when I got back, um, after 3 years here in Japan, I went back to the Philippines. That's when I became more comfortable with myself. Like I never really cared anymore. Like I would prefer walking really. Like I would go to the gym,
Yeah.
you know, with my gym bag from my grandmother's house because I think we already moved there. So from my grandmother's house to holiday gym, and I didn't care. I was like, wow,
After
I wanted
having
to
lived
enjoy.
in Japan, right, where nobody
Yeah,
really,
three
you know,
winters, three autumn, three springs, like all these seasons I've experienced here in Japan, and now I'm like I just want to enjoy the warmth of Davao. Like I can just walk. Like I would inhale all the dust. I didn't care. I was like I would walk. It's fine. By the time I get to the gym, I could take a shower or whatever. Then I don't know if I feel like
yeah,
walking, I would walk, and I didn't really have to like. Sometimes if my mom would like, oh, we're like, oh, you want to use the car? I'm like, no, it's fine. Are you going somewhere? And they'd be like, yeah, because at that time we only had like just one car, and
yeah,
two cars. But my wife would use it, so it's like, not enough cars for everybody. So I'm just like, no, I'm
yeah,
just gonna walk. Then my mom would be like, oh, I think you need a car because like they're thinking that I just came back from Japan, whatever. Like I don't need a car. It's fine. Like I drive in Japan. I drive every day in Japan. It's not a big deal.
yeah,
Cars are not a big deal in Japan. Like nobody cares if you have a car,
yeah,
right? If you live in Tokyo or if you live in Nagoya, like nobody cares if you have a car or not. Like because they're like, no, I need to get where I'm supposed to be.
yeah,
I'd either take the bus or take the train, and nobody would. I mean, because it's
yeah.
normal. Because that's
I
how it
think
is.
I think that's what living overseas has injected in us. It's injected in me, you know, that perception of like back in the day, our perception of like, oh, I don't have a car, I'm not special. It's like now, you know, be like in the US, it's like people appreciate you for what you bring to the table as a person. Like your
Mhm.
personality, if you are, you know, that's what they remember. They don't stick to like what car you drive. Like that's what I'm saying. Like here in the Philippines, it's like it's such a waste of having a. Like, I'm not saying I have a great personality or you have a great. I'm just saying like it's such a waste to be this wonderful, amazing person because you will just be outshined by somebody with a wonderful and amazing car or a wonderful
Mhm.
and amazing whatever, right? It's not. It doesn't get the appreciation that it deserves. Unlike that's why there are people who like. That's why I was kind of for a while I was intrigued about going to Boracay because knowing of the foreign people that show up there, and that when you go to Boracay, I'm pretty sure every Filipino going to Boracay would have the mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna wear this because that's what's rocking. I'm gonna look like I'm gonna do this, not knowing that the foreigners there really couldn't care less about any of that shit. It's about whether you can converse, whether you can make them laugh, whether you can introduce them to the culture of the Philippines, whether you're a person they would want to see the next day. That's really what it's all about, you know. And that's why if like let's say if I go to like Boracay or wherever, I wouldn't be hitting on the Pinays. I would be hitting on the foreigners because it's the foreigners who would
Kusog
probably
magpalibre ang Pinay. That's why I would never hit on Pinays because they always like
It's hard.
a burger
They
ka naman. What the fuck?
have a and especially when they're pretty and they know it. Ah, shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's gonna be a long night of bullshit, of trying to be someone I'm not, of it's gonna be a long night. You know, it's like that. That's why sometimes I never want to bring up the fact that I lived in the States. I never want to bring up the fact that my dad's whatever. I don't want to bring up that shit. Like, what the hell does that do for me? Like, it makes me look bad. It just glorifies my parents and me being like this, right? But sometimes you can't help but bring it up because it's kind of what makes him more interested in you. I'm trying to sell myself here, but I'm actually selling my what's I'm not selling myself. I'm selling my dad. I'm selling my where I lived. That's what I'm selling, and that's what's be
That's what it
like.
takes to
But
be sold.
yeah,
Go for
yeah,
it.
but that's how Pinoys are. That's how, like, oh, I'm a DJ, right? Like, come on, honestly, you have to be honest. If you start a conversation with a Filipina, you're definitely not gonna tell her shit like, oh, I only live here, I only have, this, I only. No, never. You're always gonna be like, shit, you know what? I'm a DJ for this. Yeah, I've been to this. That's how we would talk. But like in the States, if you open your line like that, you'd be like, shit, this guy's obnoxious. I mean, the term obnoxious doesn't even exist here in the Philippines because it just doesn't. But in the States, it's like, that's such a turnoff. You talk about yourself in that way, it's obnoxious. That's a term that not very many Filipinos use. I've never heard of a Filipina say, I get turned off with a guy who's obnoxious. Because you know why? Because that's exactly what they get turned
They
on
get
with.
turned off with
Yeah,
a guy who doesn't have a car. That's what they get turned off
exactly.
at.
They like the obnoxious
Ay,
guys.
walang kotse. Ay, sorry. Taxi. I don't like taxi.
International school ako eh. I graduated at Brent. All that shit. I'm like, oh,
Right.
taga Brent.
Patrick's
Oh,
saying,
taga
I would probably have
IS.
that mindset if someday I would return to do it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure because you've lived in Australia and you've seen a lot of
Yeah,
shit
yeah, yeah. And then he
that
lands,
most
he
Filipinos
lands, he
haven't.
lands in Davao and like, I'm from Australia. I live in Australia. Hi,
He
miss.
lands in he lands
I
in
actually lived in
Davao. And he's like,
Australia.
good morning, sir. Morning, mate. How you doing today? How's it going?
Did you know
Good
that,
day.
I was a. Atik ako no! But that's just the thing. It's like it's for some reason, it kind of brings out the worst in you, and it's embarrassing. I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, and I learned that the hard way. I used to ask out girls at Acropolis just by asking them out, and they would always give me that look like, "Sino ka?" And then they would
Patrick
see
would be
me.
with Patrick would be some friends at Starbucks like, Ara, I'm going to the Denny. Basta ka ba? Denny. What's a Denny? CR, you fool. Yeah, we call it Denny. We're going to the Denny.
I gotta go to the loo. I gotta go to the loo. I mean, it's like, what the heck, man? But see, that's just we all talk the shit. Like I said, that the hardest woman to impress is a Filipina in the Philippines. But if they're abroad, they've lived abroad, they're fine. I will definitely
No,
not play
you'll
that.
definitely not.
And like,
You'll definitely not play that part.
it's like that. That's why, dude. I always wondered why I would ask for a girl's number, right? Like she would give me the number, like landline pa yon, wala pa cell phones, Acropolis or Spams, and then like maybe she would see me outside of Spams, like riding the taxi with Jepoy or like hopping on a jeepney or something, and then like I'd call her and she wouldn't be interested anymore to talk to me, because dude, remember the culture of Spams and Acropolis back then? It was like people would drive their car around the parking area, remember? They wouldn't even go inside the bar. They would just stop there and drive slowly just to show off. And that song of TLC, Scrub, I mean, I was a scrub. I would sit in the front seat of my best friend's ride. And but it's like that's when I realized that, oh shit, like, so if I go to like a Spams or an Acropolis and I'm taking the taxi or riding the Jeep and like I'm hanging out with Jetboy and like I'm not with the cool crowd, I don't know. I better not be seen. So that if I call the girl, she might entertain the thought that, oh, I actually drove there. Or that I actually, like, I realized that shit. And it's shallow, man. It's kababawan to the kababawan, but it's the reality of it. You feel it. You feel how discriminated you become. And you also feel how glorified you become when they find out that, oh, sa Boston ka pala nag-aral, o sa ano ka pala, all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, like why am I getting special treatment here? Like what did I do? Like, did you know I was a minority there? Did you know that I felt like an outcast in that school? I mean, why is it a big deal? Like, you guys have it better here. You guys spell better. My classmates there didn't know how to spell. My handwriting is shit because of it. But it's just, I noticed that that's just how the game is played here. So it's like, pucha. Okay, so I'm gonna do my yabang game. All right, I got my mom's car running. I started buying Gerbo jeans and shit. But that wasn't me, man. That was not me. But it's what worked. My social life improved, my love life improved. Albeit, of course, yeah, I was dating more girls, but these were girls who were dating me for what I was wearing, what I was driving. And I'm just so glad that I came full circle. We came full circle and ended up with girls who loved us for the shitty person that we are and not for the glorified brand that we wear. I mean, I think that's the most important thing. I think that's the most important thing. I mean,
I agree. I agree.
you know, I mean, we trap them.
Nailad.
Because I mean, sometimes you catch them like looking afar, thinking, "I could have done better." And you're like sitting there, when you're grouchy and starting an issue with them, and they're like, "Punung puno
Could
na,"
have
but
done
they
better.
right,
You
and they're
could
like,
have.
"Yeah, but I could have too."
You could have. But I'm the man. That's why you're here. Shut up, bitch.
Bahalag pobre, basta hilas. All right, that's the thing. That's the line, dude. I want that shirt actually. Dato lagi humble man sad. What's the point, right? You're not getting the perk of your wealth. You don't get that.
But I don't hate these people, right? I mean, don't get me wrong.
Which one's the wealthy one? Which one?
No, I mean, okay. Here's the thing: like, people are like, "Oh, maybe you're just sour grapes," I'm like, "No, I'm not. It's just,
No, it's
I mean,
reality.
it's me. I was fine either way, right? I was really okay. I became a radio DJ, and all of a sudden, there were people like calling me and being friends with me, asking me to have a tape recorded or whatever shit, and I didn't really understand it in the beginning, you know. Back before I became a radio DJ at Power 93, I was basically no, I wasn't really a nobody because I was sort of popular
The
because I
wifey
ran
said you
for
ran for
freshman.
president or something.
I did in high school. Then
Yeah, see,
in
the wifey
college
knew
too,
you as the guy who ran for president.
right. So in college as well, I was I just didn't I didn't just run. I won. I was the freshman representative in Ateneo. So I was actually known. Like I was a bit popular. But then I got really turned off with the result. After taking office, and I was like, "Fuck, this is what it is." I'm like, "No, politics is not for me." I decided like politics is not for me. So I quit in the middle of it, and that gave me bad rep. But I was like, I didn't care. I was like, I wasn't happy. I didn't give a shit. I just walked out of it. I turned the people, well, I turned them all down. Those who voted for me, and I should have apologized to them because they gave me their confidence and their trust. But I just quit in the middle of it because I
Yeah.
didn't know that was I was getting into. I thought I was actually doing something important. Then when I was there, we didn't do anything important. So I felt so disappointed, and I felt duped. And I just like quit. I was just like, no, I'm leaving this. Fuck it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't like a nobody, but then I became a radio DJ at Power 93, and that changed, some things a bit, especially with the socialero people. They started to notice me, and they started talking to me. Some of them, like I don't even know them, but they'd be like, "Hey, like yo, mystery man." They wouldn't even call me by my name. They would call me by my air name. Oh, mystery man, and they'd be like, "Bye, put it per record." I'm like, "All right, fine." Like, yeah, yeah, sure. Just give me a tape, whatever, blah blah. I'm Mr. Nice Guy and whatever. And nobody ever did. Nobody ever gave me a tape or whatever. And it happens a lot. Even after three radio stations, it's still happening. People always ask me like, "Oh, dude, can you like record me some stuff, whatever?" And then one friend of mine who's like in the pharmaceutical industry was like, "You don't get it, do you?" I'm like, "What?" They don't really want they're not really asking you for a recording. They don't want you to do that. They just want people to see that they know you. That's what they're doing, because there's no other like point of conversation but like songs and records. Like, oh, bye pwede pa record. But actually, what they're doing is they want people to know that they know you, that you're Iceman, that they know Iceman, that you're in a way associated. Like after you leave, they were like, oh yeah, I know that guy. Like, oh, he's that hotshot DJ from whatever. That's what
Yeah.
they wanted to do. Like, how many CDs have you received actually? I was like, well, not much. I'm like, yeah, exactly, because they don't want. They could get it somewhere else, but they would call you out, and they would call you and have you sit for a while, or like join their group for 5 minutes, then you leave, because they just want attention. They just want to know that they know you too, because you're like somebody who they listen to in the radio, and that would be a
Yeah.
selling point for them as well. It was like, oh
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you have a point. People call you and like, oh, like they would talk to you about some bullshit about whatever. But you have no whatever. Do you have access to all these whatever things? But they could get it somewhere else. But they kind of like bring it up just for you to have something to talk about. And I was like, yeah, that's really true.
So you
That
went
is
through
so
that
true.
stage, huh? Like, I
Well,
mean,
yeah, because I'm not friends with those guys. Like, I'm from Holy
no,
Child.
no,
I
because
didn't know.
because you know what? I never like. I've been guilty of doing that, like associating myself with a person more influential to kind of maybe gain favors or maybe to be looked up as someone more than I really am worth wise. But I don't think I've ever felt somebody like do that to me so that they can, or maybe I just wasn't conscious. Like,
No, you
I
weren't
don't,
conscious.
like
People
somebody
who were like,
befriending
"Oh,
me
you
because
so
I was a
yeah."
DJ. Like,
No, not
I
really
never
befriending
felt
you,
it.
but just like talking to you. They're not necessarily
No, I
befriending you, but
never like I never.
like you probably talk to a lot of people on the sides, like, "Hey, Rod," and like, "Oh, hey," like all these
Yeah.
small
Probably
conversations.
like especially during our peak, right? Especially
Yeah,
during our peak.
exactly.
Yeah,
They
but
talk to you about certain
I never
stuff,
thought
like
about that. Like I never felt
minute,
that.
I know, like topics, and like senseless conversations.
That I could
But the
actually
purpose
bring
of it
somebody
was,
up a level, just
yeah,
because
because
of
they know you. Like, oh, you know that guy. Like, oh, I mean, they all listen to radio. So when you walk away from that person, they'd be like, "Who is that guy?" "Oh, that's Rod Rodriguez." Like Killer B, like, "Oh, that's him." And like,
because
yeah, like,
because
"Oh, you friends with him?"
I
Like, yeah.
I still always get genuinely surprised when like I host an event and afterwards like some kids come up and ask for selfies or the tita takes a picture or because I'm like I never imagined that I would be hosting an event and that there are actually 3 or 4 people out there looking at me going, "Oh, that's Rod Rodriguez." That's like I only find out like maybe during dinner or maybe after the event. You have that often too. Like when they find out you're Iceman and you get pictures, and that's the only time I'm like, "Oh wow!" Like okay, so I'm never really used to it. Like I still like. I'm still kind of like, are you sure you listen to my show? Are you sure you know who I am? Like, did you really like, you know? But but I've had genuine encounters. Like I said, like that waiter at Ranchero Grill, and he was this young waiter guy, and he always was kind of like excited to serve us. I was with the wifey's tita, with the wifey's family, and the tita from the states was treating everybody, and he was always like very enthusiastic in serving. And so I was like, oh, good service here in this place. And afterwards, when we were about to leave, that's when he goes, "Sir, can I have a selfie?" And that's when I found out, like, holy shit, what's this guy? It's like he's this kid from UM, and he's used to listen to our show like crazy. And I'm like, he was asking about you and stuff. I'm like, holy crap, no wonder. No wonder he was. I thought it was just like the service here, snappy man. Like I don't even have to. Like I look there and he's there. Like, oh sir, yeah, like he'll serve me. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that he admired us for the show that we had. And maybe those things sometimes we don't notice because maybe some people don't really announce that they are listeners. We just notice that they're extra nice to us. you
That's
know?
true. That's true.
Like we don't even know, right? Like why are these people nice to us? Like you notice that when we do like a school event. And there are always these like 2 girls who are part of the organizing committee, and they're always the ones entertaining us. There would always be like these
Right.
two, right? And they'd always be the ones, Sir Rod, Sir Ice, do you want water? And then we would know that okay, these are the two who actually listen to us, right? And we feel that,
The
and
diehards,
yeah,
the fangirls.
yeah. There's always like that 2 or 3, right? Like even if it's like an Ateneo fiesta, they would always be like, and I like the fact that usually these girls are kind of like nerdy, like they're smart. they're just like smarty pants. Like they get us, like they're smart. They're not like the stupid looking ones. Like go that here, so it kind of lifts me up a little bit, knowing that I have a quality audience. We have an intellectual group of listeners. These are not just like people who just like hear us because they're riding the jeep and hear our name on a shout out and associate us with that. They actually really sit and listen to the show, and they appreciate that. So, anyways, I mean, yeah, I hope for the people's list out there. I mean, I'm sure we're closing up the show. I hope for the people out there. I hope we're not included in your list of you guys found us impressive before, but are like,
No, probably. No, we are on the list. Definitely, we're on the list. We are
like
definitely on the
cool man
list.
yan sila noon. Yung si Iceman at si Rada. Ngayon parang
Yeah, I would
tigulang
say we're
naman.
definitely on the list.
Oh, I
We
hope
are definitely
not.
on the list. But
I
I
mean,
never thought of myself as cool. I never thought of myself as cool. Like when I joined radio, everybody
but
probably
you're Iceman. How can you not be cool?
no. See, that's the thing. That was like for. I mean, I didn't even pick that name. Somebody picked that name for me. That wasn't the name I picked, and I'm glad
Really?
that I
Oh, for Killer
that I
B.
got
For Killer B, you
yeah for
mean?
Killer B.
No,
I'm
because
glad
there
that
was an
somebody picked
ice.
it for me.
The cool thing was there's an Iceman in Cebu, and he was a chick boy like hell too. And you were like kind of compared. You remember there was an Iceman in
That's not
Cebu?
what I remember about him. What I
And
remember about him is that he sells cold cards, ice water,
really
and
in Cebu?
yeah, you can
Wasn't he
like.
like?
I
Wasn't he
always
like this
remember
chick?
that because we're always
Wasn't he?
laughing.
Wasn't he this
He
chick boy guy
was,
who was like
he
good
was,
looking or something?
but then the director would always talk about him like, oh, kuya okay tong ice man sa Cebu kay mamaligyan cool cards. I mean, even if they're on the like if they have an event, like you would be selling stuff, man. Like what kind of a guy is this? I never did
Maybe,
that.
maybe
I
he
never did.
used
I'm a
his
salesperson, but
he used his
I've never
fame.
sold anything
He used his
like that at the
popularity.
event. I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe, but but whatever. I've never met that guy, that Iceman in Cebu, and somebody picked that name for me. I think it was the director who decided to give me the name Iceman, and I'm just glad that that's what they gave me as an air name, and it stuck. So it's like now
It did.
I'm just Ice or Iceman. Like so, I'm glad because I had really sucky air names back in the day. My first air name was because we couldn't decide. I got stuck with the Mystery Man. Imagine being the Mystery Man for
For like
one
years.
year, for 1 year and a few months, right? Because they were like, okay, come up with a name, and I was the mystery man for about a week or two, and I still couldn't come up with a name, and it's been a month. It's been a month and a half. So finally, the manager got tired, and she was like, you're stuck with that name. You can't decide. All right, fine. You use mystery man from now on. So I was the mystery man. And every time there's a new guy, it's the mystery man, right? But me, I get stuck being the mystery man. So after I moved to another radio station, I right away decided to, like use Chris Rock because it's kind of like I mean it rocks. I mean he's popular too. He's an actual Hollywood actor. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna use Chris Rock. I think it's good. It's easy to say Chris Rock. So I'm like, I'm just gonna say it. And I had a line. I would always say, my name is Chris and I rock. I will always say that. That's
Yeah,
my line,
yeah,
right? So I
yeah.
mean, it was a different it was a different time. It was a different frequency, different radio station, but that was my line. My name is Chris and I rock. I would always say that, and people probably got pissed off because of that line. Because who does he think he is? Maybe other DJs thought about that because that's why I got in their
Yeah,
crosshairs. You know what I'm
because
saying?
the English format radio stations, the DJs were usually like pa-cute, They were trying to
Right.
be like the big brother, kind of, right? Like, hey, welcome to the station, and yeah, I would like to. It was always like this, like calming, soothing voice, and you came along, and you're just like, yeah, like, yeah, I'm gonna like,
Shock,
freaking
shock.
like, yeah,
My name
shock,
is
shock.
Chris and I rock. Bullshit. I actually said bullshit. Back in the day, you can't say bullshit on the air, and I actually said bullshit one time, and I was like, fuck, I said that. I said bullshit. And I don't know, man. I don't know how many people heard it, but I said it. And the one that I worked with at night, the pharmaceutical rep who would just like join me
Yeah,
at
your
night,
sidekick.
Ron Savage, yeah, he was like, dude, don't get over, don't be over, don't be overcome by your emotions. Like you have to control yourself. Like you can't be this loose cannon. Like don't say like why did you say bullshit? I'm like I don't know. I just felt it, and I like felt like saying it, and I said it, and he was laughing. He was like, oh man, you're a loose cannon. Like you have to get a hold of yourself and whatnot. But then I think he was using that as a to his advantage because he was with me. He would like provoke me all the time, and I would say a lot of stupid stuff, and
Get
he
you in
would
trouble.
capitalize on it. Yeah, I would like not really get me in trouble, but to make not really, but it's like we're having fun, and but he's poking fun at me too, and he's taking
Okay.
advantage of my being not too
Yeah.
smarty about the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
So he's like laughing. I mean, we're both
He was
laughing, but
poking the bear to create entertainment at
right,
your
exactly,
expense. At your
right. So
expense. Like if anybody's
exactly,
gonna get in trouble, it's you. But
it's
it's
me.
providing entertainment.
Yeah, because he
I got
wasn't
it.
connected with the radio station. He was just like a part timer who um wasn't officially connected to us. He was just
Yeah.
there, sitting down and talking to me. So he would poke fun at me, and yeah, at my expense, it was entertaining as hell.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that you know what, you should have saved some of the air checks of that show. I mean, like that's
Because that
kind
was a
of
time when you were probably like listening to me too. Because we would like listen to you as well. Because we'd be
yeah.
like,
I was a
like we would
UR.
like
I was doing the
we
night
were already
show.
you are right. This was around 2000, right? Around 2000.
Yes, that's when I
All right.
started. Yeah,
So yeah.
2001.
So
I
there's
was
this
doing the
Rod
night show,
Rodriguez. I'm like, who's this Rod Rodriguez? He
and
talks
then
to me too. I'm like, all
my
right.
first
And
talk
we
show
were
was
with
the one with Chloe Summers. That was my
Chloe
first.
Summers. I
We were
remember
doing it
that
at night. That was
because it was. Yeah, I remember Ron saying like, "Okay, let's listen to these guys." And there's like that Chloe Summers, and we would always pick on Chloe Summers, not
Did
you.
you know her already back
No,
then?
we didn't. But because there were like two, so it was like basically you and me, before you and me. You know what I'm saying?
Was anyone else doing that shit before, like
No,
tandem
no, no,
shit
no,
at
no.
night?
What? Well,
Like in
there,
Davao
there,
Radio, did you like
what,
except for massa
there were
stations? I'm sure
people.
massa stations were doing that.
There
Yeah,
were people who did that at Killer B, I guess.
at night.
But no, not at night. I think there was this one guy who took in phone calls, and it got out of hand. I don't think he had a tandem, but in the morning they already had like I think the Breakfast Club with like the
Got
two
it.
guys. But
Yeah,
then you and Chloe Summers were doing it, and me and that guy, and we would listen to because I think it's only us who were doing it, so we
yeah.
didn't have a choice but to
Same
listen
time
to you,
slot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So we would be like, but we would be poking fun at the girl, not you, because it's always like, yeah, like, Ron would say like, oh, well, listen to this girl, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's talk about something like, like something nasty, because these people, like, because you're probably talking about like some serious stuff about girly
Probably,
stuff and
probably. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
relationships and shit, right? So we
Yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
like take it
I
a
don't even
notch
know what we were
higher,
talking about.
right?
But you have to remember, back in the day, there weren't we didn't have like girls doing talk shows then.
No, 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 no,
The
no.
niche of the girls in radio back then, or the women, was to be this sexy, right?
Exactly,
Desirable
exactly.
vixen, right?
Right, right,
Voices like May Thorne, voices like, hey,
right,
this is
right.
you. Like they had to sound sexy. This was like literally like a raw kind of conversation between a guy and a girl, and a woman's perspective, because
Right.
that's what we wanted, a woman's
I
perspective
think you had
and a
market. I think
guy's
you had
perspective.
more girls listeners there who were interested in that sort of topic. And our side of the planet was sort of like we were just like stupid. We were just being stupid, and we were
Yeah,
just
he
like
just do
having fun.
whatever he
It was
wanted.
basically you and me.
Yes,
It's
yes, yes.
basically you
I
and
know, I
me.
know, I know, I know, I know. If it had
Few
been
years
us, yeah, that
after,
would have
it's you
been.
and me. So a few years after it was you and me. Like I never
Yeah.
thought like if you think that like me too, like I never thought because I already know you existed, but I never thought that we would end up in
Did
the
you
same
greet people a
show.
lot? Did you greet people a lot? I mean, like, cause like I said, Sam Snoodle was listening to you guys, so I was assuming maybe you
No, there
greeted
were people
people a
who
lot.
text. I would greet them. I would say their names, but like that would be in like the context of like having conversations, right? So I would be having conversations. If text would come in, I would like mention people. Like, all right, oh, these people from whatever. And it's not just like sort of greetings. I would talk about them. Like, all right, oh, here's like from Sam Schools, whatever, whatever. And I would like talk about like
So that's
about their
probably it.
lives.
Because I don't
It
recall
was like
greeting people.
I would bring them in. Like I would get to know them if like I would
I
ask
don't even know if
questions
I
like,
had a
what do you
cell phone.
do?
Did you have a cell? You had a cell phone already back then?
Because that freaking guy, that pharmaceutical guy,
Oh, I didn't have
he
a
would
cell phone
finance
yet,
it.
man. I don't think I had a
He would
cell phone back
finance
then.
it.
That's
He would
probably
finance it.
why.
That's probably why.
Shout
Because he
out to
was willing to
Luis.
spend.
Came out of
Yes.
nowhere. He's like, girls would sound like in the Robust radio ad or something. You know the Robust, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Ang laki. Oh, it's so like it's just like the spell that guys take that supposedly make them feel horny and shit. Pinky had a partner back then in one of their shows. Their shows around this is around 2000. I can't remember the name of her partner though. Um,
Who partnered with
Pinky
Pinky? Saturday?
Saturday. I don't like 12 to 3 p.m.
Oh,
Was that
oh,
you? Was
no,
that
no, no, no,
you?
no. I was already gone. I think it was Pinky and
Probably not me.
English girl, one in England right now. What's her name?
Oh, yeah, Carol. That was Carol.
Carol. I think they
Yes, I
did
think
a
they
show
did it.
like that.
Yes, yes, they did. They
They
did. They
did
did.
like,
They
or it
did.
could be Reese. I'm not sure, but it could be Carol. I think 2007, 2008. That's Carol.
Yeah,
I
that's
think they
probably
did
Carol. Yes,
like
they did.
two
They did.
girls doing it.
Yeah,
They
they
did
did.
it.
They did.
They
They
kind
had
of
that
like
show.
kind of experimented on
Yeah,
that sort
they
of
had that
like
show. I
program.
remember. I remember that. Yeah, they had that show for a while because they were doing it
But I don't know
2006.
why it took so long for Joe to decide to put us together.
No, because
I
dude, think about it. We were the most badlungon guys. We were the most talkative
no,
guys
we
on
were
the,
not.
and we were. You were
We were
talkative. I
talkative, but
was
we were not badlongon. But
no,
we
no, not
talked. Yeah, we
badlungon,
talked a
not
lot.
badlungon, but like. You know, we were kind of like on a 20-second ad lib window kind of thing. They were trying to find ways to cut down the
Did we
talk and
go
shit.
over?
And can you imagine having both of us? I mean, I had Joe as my partner in the Breakfast Club, and I still talked a lot. I was with Joe.
It's crazy. 'Cause
Like
I was
Joe
like,
would
all right,
cut
I
me
was
off.
partner with Amy, then I was partner with Gabby. I was even partner with Chuck at some point. I never partnered with Joe.
Yeah, I
But he
partnered
was
with
like,
Chuck too.
he was moving people around. You
He
partnered with
was.
Chuck, you partnered with Amy, you partnered with Joe, and it was like I think that was like
You know,
finally Joe was like, "Hey, what do you think of like doing the morning show again?" I'm like, "What?" Because I was doing the nightly shows, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
we were
yeah.
doing the morning show together.
Yes,
So I was like,
yes. I was doing it with Joe.
"All right, yeah, okay, I'll do the morning show." Like, "All right, I'll partner you with Raw. Would that be okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't see
And it
why
just
it's not
worked.
okay." Like I think we do that every Sunday. Like if he comes in after me, I would
Yeah.
stay for a while
We
and we would
talk.
start talking.
Talk a little bit.
And it was like, all right, I'll put it together. All right, just be careful, like not to yeah, because
I
we
don't
have
even
commercials and
remember
shit.
him like giving me that talk. I just remember like all of a sudden we were partners
No,
and
no, no, because you were partners. He never had to talk to you because you were staying. So he had to talk to me because he's gonna bring me in,
oh, okay, I got it, got it, got it. Okay,
right?
okay, got it, got it. Yes,
So
yes,
he was
yes,
like, "Are
yes.
you okay with it? Like you wake up in
The
the
morning
morning,
thing, yeah.
yeah. So is it okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." I'm like, "What?" But I didn't know what to expect too. I was like, "What are we gonna talk about?" Because it's like, holy crap. But I was like, "All right, whatever." I didn't have expectations or anything. I was like,
Yeah.
"All right, I'm just gonna go in
Did
and
we
we'll do
even
the
have
show
a
together."
format? Did we even have like a clock for the show?
No,
Did we
no, no.
even make
It's
one?
because you
Did we have
already had
did we have
no, no, no.
segments?
Here's the
I already
thing.
had segments with
You and
Joe.
Joe had
Yeah, I had
yeah,
segments.
you had
Yes, yes,
segments with
yeah.
Joe, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Because it was a different like partnership after that because I'm not Joe, right? So you
Yeah.
started doing like, oh, can we like talk with our mouths full? Like
Yeah,
some funny stuff. Like,
and your material was
started doing that.
different. Like Joe would give like celebrity news and shit, right? Yours like you would search for different shit. Like like that. Like if 1 peso somebody like one gets paid 1 million if they find if they
I
can
know, right?
prove that there's a supernatural paranormal
Which is
shit.
conversation, yeah.
Whack, whack.
Which actually appealed to a lot of people because we were
That
penetrating through it.
that's the only
We have
reason
a market.
why our show was not shut down after 2 episodes because there was the clamor. Mao was telling me about it. Jig,
Right,
the Ripper was telling me his friends were listening
right.
to us. You know, like
Dude,
I
my
remember
classmate,
Roy,
who's a
right?
professor in UP, listens to us. She is a
Yes,
professor in UP, and she
the
listens to us.
clamor. It was
She would
so
be in a jeepney, and she would have her headphones on because she likes
and
listening
laugh,
to
and
us,
she'd be laughing.
and she'd be
And
laughing.
Mouse Tita. So if not for that feedback, Joe would have shut us down probably already like after two
I
episodes. Not
know.
because
And
for the lack of
Joe's
yes,
friends
Joe
listen
got feedback too.
from his
That
friends. Like, who are these two guys? And I'm like, all right, which guys?
so so he's like, okay, all right.
His reaction would probably be like, hey, who are these two guys in the morning? Joe's probably like in the beginning was like, yeah, what about them? What
I
about
know.
those two guys?
Should I shut that thing off?
Oh, lingaw, like, oh, all right, oh, yeah, yeah, they're my guys, they're my guys.
Yeah, and you have to think, dude. You have to think. You have to think. We were competing with established masa tandems in the morning. We're
Not,
talking
not
about
just
Chris Chopera and Nicole Yala. That's like syndicated from Manila.
I
We're
never, I
like
never, I never considered them as competition, but
the
we did have competition. We
but
did
the
have
morning guy,
You know who we're talking about.
dude, they were and those guys were funny. Like I'm talking about, like I would
Yeah,
like my wife and I, we would laugh if we listen to the
they're a
Masa
different
morning
market.
shows. They're
They're a different
funny.
market. There weren't direct competition, but we had a competition. And like, there's only one
Oh
direct
yeah.
competition
Okay,
in
yeah. All right, all right,
right?
all right. I kind of yeah,
That, that,
but I think they
that
came
was
first.
well, they came first. That's the thing. But it's like it's the same format, the same type of like what we're offering different products, but it's like almost like similar. You know
Same,
what I'm
yes,
saying?
yes, same market,
Like
same
I
market.
would say
But
different genre,
I didn't
but
even
it's
think
like
about that. Like that even like it never even
because you
entered my
didn't have
thought.
history. That's
That's
lucky for you because
true.
you didn't have history with them.
That's true.
But because I did, I was conscious about it.
And our show is different too. We were not as like conscious or refined. Ours was like, ah, the hell with it. Like we had nothing to
Yeah, we
lose. You know
made
what I'm saying?
mistakes.
Like
We
we
did
had
a lot
nothing
of
to lose.
like it's like being a comedian. You throw out jokes, you say out jokes. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes you're just bombing. It doesn't have an effect. And that's what we did. And we just we just did our
And
thing in the
and
movie.
I and
It was
ours
just
was like we weren't really throwing jokes like expecting like okay there's gonna be a punchline like we were reading
no.
something and prep.
We were
No,
just
it was
we were
like
just being ourselves.
real life,
We
real
were just being ourselves.
conversation that we would have.
I
Our
remember we
conversations were
had
just funny.
I remember we had like one guy texting or calling in, and I think he was talking about liking somebody in like where he works. Was it in a bank?
Naniniwan na plus. Yeah, yeah. I know, of course.
We were up against those guys.
See?
Their time was our
Even
time.
Patrick
Tanini.
knows.
Yeah,
So I'm
Tanini.
telling you,
Tanini was
those
their
guys have following,
yes,
man.
yes, they have following. But then remember
And those
that guy
guys
who
had
was
sponsorship.
they did because they were like from the Masa
They
station.
had heavy sponsorship.
So, but then again, like what I said, like there was this one guy calling about. I think he likes somebody at because I think he works at a bank and he likes one of his colleagues. But the problem is like that person was married, and we were like teasing him and we were giving him like wrong ideas, like, oh, that's the best thing, because the best chick you get
Ang
ang
manok, dahil
magaling
ako ba?
ang galing
Nakatali.
lahat pa naman ng nakatali. So you can catch like whoever's already like nailed to the ground, right? It's easy to catch those type of chickens. So we were like telling him like you should go for it. That was a really I mean we were not telling him to actually go for it, but we were like kind of like just teasing him.
We were like
And
the
hey, it's not a
BI
bad idea at
guys.
all. Like,
Yeah,
if you
like
want
the
to
BI
take a
guys.
shot at it, why not? But that was interesting for some people. Like, what are these guys doing? But then it's because it's reality. Like, oh, that can happen to you. That can
Yeah.
happen to you. You can be working in an office and you can like somebody who's already committed, not necessarily married, but probably somebody who has a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Yeah.
That can happen to a normal person, and that's why they dig the show because we talk about those things. It wasn't pre-planned. It wasn't bland.
And
It's reality.
and and we called like a mom or something, right, about their kid like not showing up at school or something like that. Like we did some crazy shit. I remember we
We did. We even called somebody who.
oh this is the principal's office or something. Like you said something like you did that
We
shit,
did.
dude. But I think it was a kid that you knew or some classmate of your
Yeah,
sister or
yeah.
something. So we kind of like had an
It ended
idea
up
with this.
fine. But remember that person we called, and she was like sort of a hottie that like a lot of people know her, but then the people ended up like they wanted us to talk to the Yaya because the Yaya was more.
This was the one at night though,
Interesting.
right? This was not
This
the
was the
morning
night.
show.
This is the
Yeah.
morning show. This was like the nightly shows.
I actually met the girl. I met her. I hung out with
I,
her.
I
She
yeah,
became the
I knew
girlfriend
so.
of a guy, a friend of Mao's, a
Right.
friend of Chuck's.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Yaya was more interesting at some point because. So it was like we don't
That
call her.
became
We
a
call the Yaya.
serie. That became a
We don't
serie
call her.
because you would call her and then, like it's like the Yaya would talk and the Yaya would be entertaining because she would like pass it on to the Yaya and she kind of was onto us like she knew that we were like like kind of doing it to hit on her in a bit and like she it did creep her out but it was like but I mean just the stuff that we did back then we're just so glad that the right people were not listening. You know what I'm saying? Like when I say right people, like the authorities, like those who were like those who were like the conservative groups or those who would find fault in our show.
Yeah, well,
Maybe they weren't
I don't think
intellectual
they
enough
would.
to get it. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think they would give us a time because they hate us so much they wouldn't give us a time. The only thing they can do is like badmouth us to other people.
and we didn't really
But
do
then
anything out of the ordinary
no, we
because
didn't.
they
We
were
didn't. It was
because the masa
pure
stations were
fun.
doing worse things. It's just that the masa stations made it like less serious because it was like done in Bisaya or whatever.
I mean, we didn't
So
really do
it did.
anything. Like, okay, what did we do that was really offensive back in the day? Like, I don't think so. I don't think we did anything bad.
I don't know, maybe with the Backstab Tuesday, but that wasn't even us. We were just reading
It was
messages.
yeah, we were reading messages, and
That was
for
from
I
Text
think for the
Job.
most part,
That was from
most
Text
of it
Job.
was just like Most of it were probably fabricated, not even true, right?
That's
So I
true.
mean, who knows? But I don't
No,
think he did
I think
anything.
mainly, I think mainly, if anything, it was just that we were our opinions, because I think we would like talk about. I remember there were some recordings of us talking about like certain celebrities with like big breasts and stuff. Like, oh, is he really that big? I remember we'd be talking about that. We'd be looking at pictures of certain celebrities and we'd like be comparing it. We'd be like, oh, it is big. I mean, like maybe in this day and age, if we did that, maybe it would be like, oh, we're like objectifying women or something like that. I mean, because I mean, we were kind of bored, but we were not like doing it to be that way. We were like just being shallow men. I mean,
That was the point of it. I mean,
dude, they let Mo get away with so much shit. They let Boys Night Out get away with so much shit, and we can't
I
even like
mean,
talk like that.
like
Like,
for example, okay, now, okay, let's talk about what's happening with what's his name, Adam Levine, right? He's into some trouble. I'm
really?
pretty sure you heard it, right?
No, no, no. What happened? No, I'm not. I'm out of the loop.
Well, I'm out of the loop too,
Maroon
except like my
Five?
wife. Yeah, he was caught cheating with an Instagram influencer
Oh,
or
okay.
whatever.
I thought it was like really, really something bad. Like, I mean,
No,
I'm
he
not.
was
I wouldn't be
caught.
surprised with.
I mean,
So he's
see, here's the thing. Yeah,
so he's in
exactly.
trouble with
See,
his wife, or he's in trouble with the
your
law.
your reaction is exactly my reaction. I'm like, all right. I thought, what's the big deal, right?
I
Like
know it's
that's
Adam
where
Levine. I mean,
exactly. So I mean, I don't. Well, like cancel culture and whatever. Like now, I mean, I'm thinking like, what? I mean, it's Adam Levine. What are you talking about? Of course, he's gonna do that.
I know.
That girl's probably not the first.
That's kind
That's what
of
I'm.
like that's kind of like where the current is supposed to flow. I'm not saying it's
And
supposed to
people will
happen,
be like,
but Adam Levine being like this loyal, like ideal husband, like that would be counter flowing against the current. He could do it, but it's like going against the current.
and I had like see this influencer was like outing it, like posting all the private conversation. See, that's crazy. See,
Oh,
and
she
I was
was
like, all
like,
right,
okay. Well, she's an
I
influencer.
mean,
She
Adam
she
Levine,
she
all
makes
right,
money off that.
he's probably gonna tell us like he's probably gonna tell us himself that he's an asshole, right? But I mean, she's more of an asshole, like outing all these private conversations.
Yeah.
They're
But
not supposed to be shared to the
but what do you
public.
expect, dude? She's after
I
the
know exactly.
followers,
So me,
That's
that's why I don't buy like, oh, Adam Levine is all. It's Adam Levine. I mean, dude, I know guys who are so far down the food chain.
I know, I
They
know.
would even cheat. They would cheat on their hot
I know, I
wife.
know, I know. I know
Right?
exactly.
What makes you think Adam Levine wouldn't? And people are like, stop normal. I'm not normalizing it. All I'm saying is it's happening. You can't be like a crybaby about it.
That's
Like, yeah,
true.
the wife can do something about it. All right. If the wife doesn't like what Adam did, that's her business. She can leave him. Right.
Yeah.
She can sue him for all I care. Like, she needs to take action for it. Like, who are we to meddle in their business? Right. Like,
Yeah.
we don't count for shit.
I
Like,
thought it
that's
was
their
like
business.
I thought it was like he messed with an underage girl or something. I thought it was like, but I mean
No,
like,
no, it's
nah. I'm
really.
like,
You have
yeah,
like
not that. That's
like
not a
sexting.
surprise.
Like who hasn't sexted? Come on. Even when sexting wasn't a thing, people were already doing that back in the day.
And it's
Even
like
when like sexting, that's flirting.
Adam Levine, man. I mean, even if he didn't want
People,
it, it will knock on his door. You know what I'm
like for
saying?
example,
Even if he
remember what
avoided
happened to
it,
that?
women
Remember
would
what
be
happened
like
to that
DMing him.
celebrity? Whatever happened to him, it was kind of like sort of like a big fuzz about it. Like what's
Which
his name?
celebrity?
The Agassi guy. What's his first name? It's not Andre
Carlos
Agassi. What's his
Was it Carlos?
Carlos Agassi,
Okay.
right? Like there was this issue that he was messaging this person, and I think that person also outed out the DMs and shit. But he was just
Is,
like,
is he
if you
married?
read, I don't know, like he was just like being like, all right, he's just being creepy maybe. But
Mm-hmm.
Descarte, that was like Descarte, man, right? So it was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that was the point of it. He was like being, doing Descarte. So that's what I'm saying. Like it wasn't like he was very disrespectful or whatever, but it was like how people would do Descarte and
Dude,
shit.
he was the
And
Amir of rap. Come on.
I know that's what I was saying. So people were like, "Oh, he was being creepy, blah blah blah." Like one person already said no. Then after a few months, he texted him like, "That's because we're people. I mean, who knows? You might have changed your mind. That's what we do, right? Well, you never change your mind ever. Like you're right. That's why people come back like, "Hey, do you want to have a cup of coffee? Want to go to the disco with me?" Then somebody says something like, "All right, fine. That's the end of it." then like maybe at some point, like come back, like, oh
You
hey,
need
how
warm
you
water?
doing? You wanna go, right?
You need hot water? Okay, wait for me. Now you're
Is
good.
that even that bad? Like to ask somebody out, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
I
you're
mean,
so creepy. Like
I know. It's like, eh,
people change their minds all the time.
it's only a big deal because it was let out in the open and it's a celebrity who's involved. But trust me, man. It's like
I mean,
it
if
happens
you
to
were
regular
groped
people.
or
You know
like,
what I'm saying?
almost raped or whatever, then that, you should, like, these guys should answer for it. But come on, like asking you out for whatever, and like, and so it's just like,
Yeah.
oh man, it's just like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's just that's why I'm glad that we're out of the industry in that sense because like
And
with the stuff
I'm
with the stuff
encouraging
that we
women.
did.
And I'm encouraging women too. Like, you know what? If you are like, for example, Adam Levine's wife, right? They have their own thing, whatever. Or if you're with somebody who's doing that, if you don't
It's too
like what they're
much, man.
doing, leave them. Leave them. Don't take their shit. All right? If they're cheating on you, they're womanizing, they're like, they are who they are. You know what? You can do something. You can leave them. You can just like leave them. Or you can do the same, right? Just do the same. Give them a taste of their own medicine. You can do that.
Or just accept it.
Or you can just accept it and be, but no, but they can't accept it because clearly if they accepted it, they wouldn't be bitching about it. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
but
They
I
wouldn't be
mean,
outing them.
I'm not saying accept it like tolerate it, but accept it is like, well, it could still have happened and you're just not knowing about it. The only difference is now you know
Yeah.
about it. You know
It's
what I'm
like
saying?
there's always, all I'm saying is like there's always a reaction to everything, right? So it's not like you're like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, like, I mean, Adam Levine's not the first person to like cheat on somebody. Like, come on,
Yeah.
like that's the reality of life. I mean, we are all married. We go through stages, and some are not as strong as other people, right? I
Yeah.
mean, people who cheat, they're not necessarily like
And
bad to be
it
honest.
might
They
not
might be really
even be the
bad.
big deal that it's being made out to be. It might not
Bad.
actually have just been drunk texting her
All
or
I'm
flirting
saying
with
is like,
her. Trip trip lang. Guys have that side. There's a side to us that's like trip
I
trip
know,
lang.
but
Like if we were made to choose,
people,
we wouldn't even go near that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, but all I'm saying is like the other side would be making a big deal out of it, and they'd be like, whatever, whatever. So all I'm saying is like, hey, the other person who's involved can actually make a decision about it, right? If I did something bad, my wife has every right to leave me or shut me out or whatever,
Yeah, but
right?
it
And I probably deserve it too. So, but that's her business,
Yeah, but in this
and
day and age, bro, it's different. In this day and age, it's like it's not just about like nailing him to the cross. It's about sucking every like for example,
like Johnny Depp.
no, no, yeah, well, in case yeah, with Johnny Depp, if that didn't push through in Johnny's favor, then that would have just been like what people would have just forgotten it and thought Johnny Depp was a jerkwad and that he did it to his ex-wife or whatever, or like someone like let's say like Tiger Woods or something. He cheated and like all of a sudden like no nobody ever got over that. I mean, I'm sure his wife got over it. She got paid how much? She got how much? But it's not just about that. It's like no, like I mean that that sentencing was not even equal to the crime that was committed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that there's a monetary equivalent to cheating or whatever. Of course, we don't know the emotional distress that brought upon the wife. But trust me, that emotional distress that the wife went through, I mean, if she only knew how meaningless that was to Tiger, she wasted a lot of emotion and she wasted a wonderful relationship because of an incident that I mean I'm not saying that that incident was meaningless, but I'm assuming it is because that girl's kind of like a notorious player wherever she was recorded, having that conversation with. It's kind of like let's say I have a beautiful relationship. I have a 13-year marriage. I have two beautiful kids. We have built a home. We have established this foundation in our relationship. We've gotten to know him. We've gotten this far. We've gone through so much together. And then I get caught one night with like a GRO or some chick who's like, who does that for a living or whatever. And all of a sudden you give everything up. You know what I'm saying? Like you let that win. You let that one mistake, incident, act of stupidity, lapse of better judgment win over everything else that should actually not even it should not even be a speck on the map of your relationship. It shouldn't even be a dot because it's so meaningless. That's just something that I think I'm not saying women don't understand, but usually the other party doesn't understand that when I'm not saying it's 100% meaningless. I mean, there are guys out there who do have affairs and it means something to them that they really do want to be with that person instead of but for the most part it's like that what you said, you know? Cuz I mean, Adam Levine, if they have divorce in the states, if he wanted that girl more than his wife, he would have found a way to make something like irreconcilable differences and they could have just divorced and he could have just moved in with that influencer. Why would he do that secretly and shit? Because it's meaningless to him. Because he thought, I can get away with this. It's nothing. You know, I have a home to go home to. My heart has a home. I'm just fooling around a little bit. But since media made it out to what it is, the people around this wife made it out to what it is, you know, all of a sudden it's a bigger deal than it is. It just like there's more, and I know women will never side with me on this, and women will never understand my perception of it because I'm a man, and men are shallow and will always side with each other. But that's not even my point. Like even if it's the other way around, even if let's say same situation, but let's say it's the woman who fooled around, like she made that mistake or something and you ask her, and she's like, "Do you really want to move in with this guy? Do you really want to end our marriage? Do you really can't be with me anymore? Because then it's time to call it quits." But she says no. I was just like, I just admired his biceps that night. It's like I just hated you for some reason that night. And if she really chooses to be with you, then the hell with that shit. You know, you can't let that
All I'm
win.
saying is like we have options, and we have, you know, like it's
Exactly.
not.
There are options.
It's just like we all have options, and we can make decisions for ourselves.
True
And
that.
yeah, don't make like it's not a big deal. Like that happens like before social media. I've heard of my neighbors cheating with each other or whatever. All right, like the kabit whatever. Like it's been happening, man. It's been happening.
I know. I
If
know.
if my neighbors did it, what makes you think that Adam Levine wouldn't do it?
Exactly.
You know
And I
how bad
think
looking my neighbor was. You should have seen
yeah.
him.
Teryong Kabahog, whatever the heck his name is. Roberto Kugang. I mean, here's the thing, man. It's like, yeah, that's all. Okay, we'll talk about this on our next topic, on our next episode. We'll talk more about that. The good, the bad, and the ugly of cheating, I guess. And
All right.
when should cheating be taken
All right.
seriously?
So can we talk about that tomorrow?
Is it tomorrow
Tomorrow.
already?
Yeah,
No,
because
I
it's
have a
Friday. It's
gig.
Saturday tomorrow.
I
You have a
have a
gig
gig.
tomorrow? All right.
I
Okay.
do.
Fine.
I have to host
Be ready.
a warding for like the football, Davao football, whatever
All right.
thing.
All right. All right. Cool. We can have it on
Sunday
Monday. Then.
or
Sunday.
Monday,
Sunday's
Monday,
fine.
Sunday or Monday. Yeah, Sunday to make up for the Saturday, I
All right.
guess.
Okay.
Right?
Let's do
Okay.
Sunday. All right.
All right.
Cool. Sunday's fine.
Already. Okay.
Okay. What's that again? Like, can you say that again? The good, the
The
bad, and the
good, the
ugly.
bad, the ugly of cheating. Or
Bad, ugly, cheating. All right.
when
Okay.
should cheating be taken seriously? Well, it should be for most people. It should be like all the time. But I'm like, but for
People would be
guys,
like,
seriously.
when should cheating be taken seriously? And people would be like, ag na balik ba kanig yung mga tawanan. Wala kayong makukuha maganda dyan.
Nag-brainwash yung tao, nag-brainwash yung
Let's think of the
audience.
good, the bad, the ugly of cheating. All right, like yeah, I think that's better. Maybe we can have some women, you know, like I don't know, maybe because of this thing
Wait,
happening, we
wait.
can have some like
There's no good though. Right? Is there a good? The good. Oh, well,
I
there is a
don't know.
good. There is a good because it could actually save somebody from a doomed relationship.
You can't
Then
exactly
nag-cheat,
right.
nalaman mo, right? So that could
Right,
spare you
exactly.
from a
Yeah,
lifetime of
yeah,
misery,
yeah,
right?
you can look at it at that angle. Yeah,
Right,
of
right,
course. All
right.
right, okay.
Okay.
Let's the good, the bad, the ugly of cheating.
Or
All right,
maybe
okay.
that person who cheated will have a self-realization. We'll talk about that tomorrow. On Sunday, on
Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah.
All right, okay. So thanks a lot for joining us. It's been how long did we?
About 2
2 hours?
hours? Oh,
2
no,
hours.
but yeah, pretty much.
About
Or a little bit.
almost because we started late, but yeah, 2 hours. All right, cool. Thanks for joining us, Patrick, John Starks, Joe Boy. Thanks for
Luis,
joining us, Luis. All right, thanks for the company. We'll see you on Sunday, hopefully. This has been the OK Show. Rod Rodriguez, Iceman. We are out. Thank you and good night. Enjoy your weekends.